the magician in the world of Doraemon. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 776, The Ancient Trio. A group of 5 people quietly landed on a commanding height not far from the fire. From here they could see the situation below without being discovered. The 3 people below, who looked like children, were wearing thin animal skins, but their bodies were stronger than those of Nobita and the others. At this time, they were surrounding the fire, talking loudly in a language they had never heard of, and it seemed that they were arguing. Are these the humans in this world? Sure enough, there are some differences from the humans in our world. Shizuka scanned with his mental power and found that these children were stronger than them, not because they had been trained for a long time, but because they had thicker fat. People in this world have a thicker layer of fat under their bodies to resist the cold, so they can live normally with so little clothing. Shizuka explained while detecting, and in order to support the weight of the body, the bones are also wider than ours, so they look very strong. Knowing these structures, he can change the structure of his body at the right time to cope with various extreme environments. Nobita next to him nodded in confusion. Although he didn't know what he was saying, it sounded like he was very powerful. Then Nobita looked at Doraemon next to him and said, "Doraemon, hurry up and give me the translation konjac." Nobita said he didn't want to understand these things that he didn't understand. Compared with this, what these people were saying attracted him more. Doraemon had no choice but to roll his eyes at him helplessly and then took out the props. Really, can't you learn more from them? He tore the translation konjac into pieces and distributed it to everyone. Gian and Azzy and Demushin also took a piece so that they could save some effort. After eating, when they heard the sound again, the corresponding meanings of these sentences naturally appeared in their heads. The shortest child among them had tears in the corners of his eyes and shouted loudly, "Really, why do we have to go out to hunt mammoths? How dare you say that?" The tallest and most majestic child stood up and grabbed his collar. "It's you who boasted that you can kill 10 mammoths." Among the 5 people standing above, 4 of them couldn't help but twitch their mouths. "It seems that you are not much better. Stop arguing for now." The child who looked listless finally spoke up. "Now let's think about how to get back." As soon as he finished speaking, the other 2 directed their words at him. "How dare you say that, Xiaoxian? If you hadn't failed to stop us, would we be in this damn place? It's all your fault that we can't go back." Seeing this scene, everyone suddenly felt very familiar. This scene seemed to be seen often in their places. Finally, Shizuka glanced at Nobita and said uncertainly, "Why do I feel that the 3 of them are like? It's normal. No matter which era, there will be a similar group of people." Doraemon was not shocked at all, but simply explained it. And Gian and Azzy silently complained in his heart. It's obvious that the author was too lazy to draw other faces at the time. Dekisugi was serious. According to big data, such a thing is indeed not uncommon, but it still feels weird. Amidst the heated discussion, a wolf-like cry suddenly sounded around, scaring them. Oh no. The kid named Kyangfu covered his ears with his eyes distracted. "We are going to encounter a man-eating monster." Xiaoxian also remembered. "Yes, I often heard my father say that there are monsters in the north, and they often come to the south to eat us humans. Then what should we do?" Juhu began to panic. He knew that he could not beat the monster. If he encountered it, he would not be able to go back alive. "By the way, add firewood." Xiaoxian pointed to the fire in front of him. "Monsters are generally afraid of fire. As long as the fire is strong, it will be fine." After a brief hesitation, the 3 of them immediately dispersed and quickly collected nearby firewood, ready to throw it into the fire. "Nobita here is quite smart." Doraemon looked at Nobita with disdain. "Much calmer than you." Nobita stared back, not to be outdone. If it were him, he might not have thought of any good solution just now. At this time, Izuki began to calculate accurately. No, according to the burning speed of the flame, they need more than 2 hours to collect enough firewood to burn for 1 night. If the fire gets bigger, then the time required may double, which means that they may not be able to sleep at night. After saying this, Nobita immediately turned his eyes to Doraemon, who knew the pain of not being able to sleep best. Let's help them. Nobita pushed his shoulder. Can you bear to watch me not sleep and keep collecting firewood? The blue fat man nodded. If possible, I really hope you can sleep less and work harder. He said so, but his hand had already reached into his pocket. But seeing that they are also pitiful, I will help them. Before he finished speaking, a strange hurricane suddenly blew around, and dust flew everywhere. The people below couldn't help but close their eyes. Then the firewood seemed to have grown legs and quickly gathered near the fire, just within their reach. It's over. Gian and as he put away his staff, it's too conspicuous to use props to help. It's more appropriate for me to do it. Looking at the 3 children below who were happily throwing firewood into the flames, Doraemon nodded and gave up using props. When the giant tiger put the last piece of debris into the fire, he finally cheered. Great, this way we are safe. Yeah, great. The others also raised their hands happily. Since the flames grew bigger, the sound that had been existing nearby disappeared. Next, they only need to leave one person to ensure that the flames do not go out, and the other 2 can sleep peacefully. Okay, then I'll be the first. Kyang Fu took the first position, and the giant tiger also said, then I'll be the last one. What? I'll guard the middle with my hand? Nobita looked at the 2 people with a wronged face. The person guarding the middle is the most uncomfortable. The 2 raised their index fingers to Nobita and asked in unison, do you have any opinions about my arrangement? Seeing this situation, Xiaoxingxihan nodded and agreed. At least there was time to rest before and after, which was better than just picking up firewood all the time. Seeing that the people below had settled down, Yu and Dazhi and Chumushan stood up together. We are going to take a look at the north they mentioned. Do you want to go? Chapter 777 Who is a monster? Hearing what they said, Nobita stood up and stopped them. Why go to the north? Isn't there a man-eating monster over there? We just want to take a look. Maybe we can get something. Ian and Daisy and Dekisugi flew into the air. We'll be back soon. Seeing this scene, Nobita and the others immediately remembered. Oh, right. I forgot that Yu and Daisy and the others are superpowers. Because these 2 people are so low-key, many people will subconsciously ignore this matter. But they are gone. What should we do? Shizuka glanced at the still dark surroundings and suddenly became a little worried. What if we encounter a monster? That's right. Doraemon took out a few grey hats. Put this on. It will be much safer. The 3 of them put the grey hats on their heads at the same time, and then everyone's body surface spread a grey color, as if they had turned into stone sculptures. But when looking at other people, they found that everyone had disappeared, and there was only an inconspicuous stone on the ground. This is the enhanced version of the stone hat. As long as it's about us, no one else will care. Are you listening? Doraemon looked around, and didn't hear any echo. He touched his head helplessly. Oh, right. Our voices are all stone. We still have to report to the manufacturer, and add a friendly army function. Otherwise it will be too difficult to use when we act as a team. Ian and Daisy and Demission were wielding their mental power in the air. There doesn't seem to be any beasts below. How can there be man-eating monsters? After flying forward for a few kilometers, Demission suddenly stopped Yu and Daisy. There seems to be something wrong ahead. There seems to be a big bug there. Hearing about the bug, Yu and Daisy remembered the swarm of insects that had evolved abnormally last time. Calculating the time, it should have evolved again, right? Let's go and take a look. Yu and Daisy took the lead and flew in the direction that Xiaoshin pointed. Maybe we will get something. Soon, the 2 landed in front of this ridiculously large bug, ready to observe it carefully. Seeing 2 people suddenly falling from the sky in front of them, these insects panicked instantly and kept circling around the snow white long insect in the middle. This is the first time I've seen this kind of insect. Looking at the white insect in front of him, Chumushan became interested in researching it. Maybe I can take it back to have a look. The white long insect didn't understand what they were saying, so it could only open its mouth and roar at them, and the warning in its tone was self-evident. And the insects under it also picked up some spears made of stones and pointed them at the humans, who were examining them. What are you going to do? Yu and Daisy looked at Chumushan. Should I take some tissue back for observation, or capture it alive and take it back? Chumushan thought for a while and said, just take some tissue, but I don't know how much tissue is needed to analyze the genes. What Chumashin wanted to do most was to extract the high quality genes from them and then graft them onto himself to enhance his combat effectiveness. These strange creatures, in addition to being species that Chumashin had never seen before, had no place to attract him, so there was no need to kill them all. But seeing that the other party ignored them, the bugs also got angry and spit out a pool of dark green venom at Chumashin. Who knew that Chumashin stood there without dodging or evading, and directly took the strange liquid with his body, because he knew very well that it was not so easy to die. Even if he really died, his clone left in the main world would replace him. You have become a little reckless recently. Yu and as he silently moved a little. I don't have your change of clothes here. Hearing this, Chumashin was immediately shocked. What? Can't you lend me your clothes to wear? I didn't bring any myself, and my cloak is gone, and there is no space magic weapon. Yu and as he spread his hands to show that he had no way to deal with it. Why didn't you say it earlier? The green venom quickly corroded his clothes and the surface skin, revealing the body structure inside that was different from that of ordinary people. The black tumor-like bones and the muscles that kept wriggling and healing made people want to find a place to hide at a glance. However, Yu and as he was also a man who had experienced many battles. Although it was a little difficult to accept this, he was generally calm. This is a strong acid poison, mixed with neurotoxins, which is extremely lethal to creatures like us. After saying that, Chumashin took the initiative to walk over, but if that's the case, there must be an organ in this worm's body that is not afraid of strong acid corrosion. That's great. Seeing Chumashin walking towards him with a completely unrecognizable face, the worm was also a little panicked. Who of the two of them is the monster? The thumb-sized worms below also threw their spears at Chumashin with all their strength, hoping to stop him. Who knew that the stone spear pierced Chumashin's body, as if he was trapped in a swamp. His body secreted a strange liquid, and digested all the stones. Yu and as he smiled. What a joke. This guy can use any material. Your tricks are useless. At the beginning, a section of his arm could swallow the floor and wood, and the stone seemed not as difficult to digest as those polymer materials. After seeing this scene, the insects below finally couldn't bear the mental pressure and began to flee. Izuki suddenly accelerated and grabbed the white worm with his arm that had been corroded and carbonized. I changed my mind. Let's dissect you. After saying that, his hand had already cut the throat of the insect and then scraped down along the shell. Found it. Izuki smiled and took out a blue-white sack with his hand. This is where the venom is stored. Can this thing ignore the erosion of venom? He put the sack on his abdomen. Just use it to increase the resistance to venom. As long as his body successfully analyzes the gene of this venom sac, he will basically be fine when he encounters similar venom in the future. Then Zaoshin spent some time to check the other part of his body. There is no other special structure. Let's go back. Well, Yu and as he looked at Izuki who was healing rapidly, and cold sweat broke out on his forehead. What kind of monster is he now? With a brain with super learning ability and a body that is constantly evolving. Will anyone be able to kill him in the future? According to that, the person with the greatest potential for growth is Izuki. Sooner or later, he will become Kazu. Whenever he thought of that future, Yu and as his eyes couldn't help but twitch. It was too scary. God Clan. What kind of monster did you create? Chapter 778 Lord Zeohan. When they returned to their original position, Yu and as he found that Nobita and the others had disappeared. At least he couldn't see them now. Strange. Why did they leave so suddenly? Dekisugi used his mental power to search around. It's very dangerous to run around in the forest at night. After saying that, Dekisugi curled his lips, and 3 grey hats suddenly flew out, and then 3 living people suddenly appeared beside them. Ah, what a coincidence. Doraemon pretended to be indifferent and looked away. I didn't expect you to come back so soon. Well, the things over there have been done. But what did you 3 want to do just now? Yu and as he looked at them with a little anger. It was obvious that they wanted to tease them after they appeared. These people really didn't know how dangerous it was just now. Now, whether it was Dekisugi or him, their strength had long surpassed the range of humans. If they were frightened, they would definitely counterattack subconsciously. And in the process, if they accidentally slapped someone in the face, they would probably have to go to the ground to find him and put his body together. Haha, how about we skip this topic? Doraemon quickly took out his cane. Let's quickly set the time to dawn. They were originally planning to skip this part of the time. Could they really just stay here and watch the three children sleep? The surrounding scene changed again, and the things that happened during this period passed by like a revolving lantern until the sun rose again from the horizon. Izuki looked at the cane, touched his chin, and muttered to himself, what a magical prop. I really want to take it and analyze it. Let's give up. Some things are difficult to explain by science. And as he patted his shoulder gently, asking him to dispel this unrealistic idea. Even if the future world really becomes a reality, it is obvious that materialism is definitely not the truth. For example, if the telephone booth, whether it is the parallel world or the rule change that their science talks about, it cannot be explained by materialism. At this moment, Shizuka suddenly pointed at the people below and shouted softly, everyone, look, they are getting ready to set off. And as he and Izuki also focused their attention on the people below, only to see that Kyangfu and Juhu had woken up, leaving Xiaoxing still asleep. Really, Nobita is still the same here. Doraemon half closed his eyes and poked Nobita with his elbow. No matter what era, he can sleep well. Hearing this, Nobita stuck out his tongue. Don't say such a big truth. It's very hurtful. Okay. Xiaoxing, get up quickly. Juhu pulled Xiaoxing up with force. If you don't wake up, we will abandon you. In the repeated calls of the two, Xiaoxing finally woke up from his deep sleep, looking around in a daze, as if thinking about life. Juhu and Kyangfu turned and left. We are leaving. If you still want to sleep, continue to sleep. Anyway, they have woken Xiaoxing up, and it is his business to choose what to do next. They are not each other's fathers who have to take care of him all the time. After a few seconds of confusion, Xiaoxing finally woke up, picked up the wooden spear he made and followed behind. Hey, wait for me. Let's go too. Seeing that they all set off safely, the 5-member group also walked onto the god cloud and followed them. Just like that, Xiaoxing and his friends set out on their journey home under the watchful eyes of the creator god of this world. After walking for a while, Xiaoxing suddenly asked, by the way, are you sure this is really the way back? I don't know, I'm just going by my feeling. Juhu and Kyangfu were also uncertain. It looked the same everywhere, and they couldn't tell the difference. The 5 people on God's cloud all fell silent in an instant. Have you been wandering around for so long? Doraemon, let's find a way to help them, otherwise we will definitely get lost in this forest with them. Nobita covered his face and didn't want to talk. He didn't come here to see them get lost. It was simply a waste of their god's time. Doraemon, who was also helpless, began to dig out his pocket. No matter where you are, you kids are always a worry. Look at me, the pathfinding bat. He took out a bat with wings and planned to give it directly to these children. As long as you keep moving forward in the direction indicated by the bat, you will definitely reach your destination, and you won't encounter any danger during the process. And as he had no intention of taking action, because he really had no good way to deal with such things. After all, magic is different from technology. It serves the strong. Among the strong people of all generations, it seems that no one would be so poor that he didn't even know the way home, so naturally there would be no similar magic. In contrast, technological props are more approachable, just like the staff in his hand. Even ordinary people can use it to cast powerful magic. Let me use this. Nobita grabbed the bat. How about letting me satisfy my addiction to being a god? Others said that they had no objection. They were just interested in this world and didn't want to be worshipped in the temple. Shizuka felt ashamed, and practitioners would have cause and effect with a large number of people because of their beliefs, which would cause a lot of trouble. When the 3 people below were confused, Nobita holding a cane stepped on the white clouds and slowly descended in front of them. This scene scared the people below. They hugged each other and trembled. You, who are you? Why are you looking for us? I tell you, if we die, Lord Xiaoyan will not let you go. Although they were very scared, they still had to say harsh words. You mean Lord Xiaoyan? Nobita repeated subconsciously. Why does this surname sound so familiar? Not far away, and as he instantly became the focus of the 3 people's attention. And as he felt uncomfortable when they looked at him. Why are you looking at me? What does it have to do with me? He hurriedly explained. I'm definitely not the Zion, he said. The others also nodded. After all, Nobita, Fat Tiger and Sunir all have similar people, so it is normal for you and Dazi to have similar people. So everyone withdrew their eyes from him and continued to watch how Nobita below fooled people. However, at this time, Yu and Dazi's heart was already in turmoil. How is it possible? How could I meet a similar person in the movie, in this world? I don't belong here, so there should be no clone of me here. What on earth happened here? At this moment, when Nobita was fooling around, a bolt of lightning suddenly fell from the sky and struck Nobita hard on the head. Chapter 779 Similar People. Puff. Nobita opened his mouth and spit out a black gas. Then he fell to the ground with a cloud and seemed to lose consciousness. The people behind him were immediately shocked. I didn't expect Nobita's luck to be so bad now. It's really pitiful. And Yu and Dazi and Dekishin immediately took out their weapons and entered a state of alert. The lightning just now was very unusual and was definitely man-made. As expected, Xiaoxing and the others immediately seemed to have seen a savior. Master Xian, you finally came to save us. Master Xian? The three people behind him focused their eyes on him again. Could it be that Yu and Dazi here is also a very strong superpower? As expected, a child who looked about the same age as them fell from the sky. Really? Why did you run here? Exactly the same. Doraemon and Shizuka both looked at their eyes straight. It seems that every hero is similar. Do you know how long I have been looking for you? Zian, since he grabbed Juhu and Kayangfu's ears. For you. I haven't slept since last night. After scolding them, Yu and Zinzi kicked the unconscious Nobita. By the way, what was this guy doing just now? When I came over, I saw him holding a strange prop, and I thought he was going to use you as a sacrifice. The refining process of some magical items requires living sacrifices, so he took the initiative just now, to avoid hurting the three of them. After listening to what happened, he frowned and looked at Nobita. It seems that he has no ill will towards you. Forget it, just consider it my fault. After saying that, his hands formed two magic circles, and green light spots fell on Nobita, and the wound began to heal slowly. This energy. No, we can't let him continue. D-Mushin immediately stood up, and prepared to rush out with an gang. Yu and Dazi suddenly stretched out his hand to stop him. Let me meet him this time. I have a guess that needs him to confirm. Just as Yu and Zinzi continued to treat his wounds, a man dressed in black suddenly rushed out from the side, holding a sharp blade he had never seen before. The weapon that Demishin gave him was made of complex machinery, and the shape was not fixed. In addition to being able to be transformed into a staff, it could also be transformed into a sharp blade, which perfectly matched his attributes. It was a bit of a pity that this energy cube was not very good, and it was also limited by the material, so the increase in itself was not great. Sensing the malice of the visitor, Zhiu and Zinzi immediately abandoned the healing magic circle and condensed a light grey shield with his hands. Clang! The sharp blade easily passed through the energy shield, and the sword energy wiped a blood red on his face, but it did not fall on him. After a successful attack, Yu and Dazi did not pursue, but grabbed Nobita, who was still sleeping on the ground, and threw him to Doraemon. Zhiu and Zinzi on this side also took this opportunity to distance the two. He had never encountered such a powerful opponent. What are you still standing there for? He shouted at Xiaoxing and the others who were stunned in place. Go, this guy's strength is terrifying. After saying that, an almost transparent whirlwind appeared on his hand. Wind spell, panic hurricane. As soon as the voice fell, the hurricane broke into countless small wind blades, attacking Yu and Dazi, who was in the center from all directions. Wind magic, airflow control. Yu and Dazi used his sword blade to draw a perfect circle on the ground, and the surrounding airflow rose rapidly, forming an invisible wall. The wind magic shot by the opponent fell on the wind wall and was torn apart without any resistance. The energy fluctuation of this magic is probably only level 2, but the magic power he casts is stronger than normal level 2 magic. Yu and Dazi stared at him, and then his pupils suddenly shrank. Now you should get some sleep first. Zian and Zinzi, who was about to escape, suddenly felt a wave of fatigue, and then fell to the ground without any resistance, and fell into a deep sleep. The soul is his weakness. He walked smoothly to Yu and Zinzi. It seems that this child should not have received systematic training. Yu and classmate, are you okay? Seeing that the battle was over, Doraemon brought them to Yu and Dazi to check the situation. However, they were still a little puzzled. Dazi, why did you stop him from healing Nobita just now? Isn't this a good thing? Because his magic effect is not right. Normal healing magic uses magic power to replenish the vitality lost due to injury, greatly accelerating the healing of wounds. But his magic is to forcibly stimulate the body's potential. Although the final effect is similar, using this magic will shorten Nobita's life. It was Dekisugi who explained, while Yu and Dazi continued to squat on the ground and check the child's condition. As expected, he raised his hand to cancel the sleep magic. The energy possessed by this child should come from the Archangel's staff. Now he finally figured it out. The appearance of this child like him should be due to the entry of magic tools such as the Archangel's staff into the world. Because his magic tools intervened in the development of the world, leaving his mark on the world, it is not surprising that there is a clone. Moreover, the grey energy he used just now should have come from the Dark Star cloak, and it took him a little effort to cut it open. Although he did not use magic in his first attack, he could be proud of being able to do this. Okay, let's stop here today. Yu and Dazi walk to the god cloud. He is almost waking up. Don't let him see us. Everyone nodded. They didn't expect that primitive people would have similar superpowers. This really scared them. After rising to the sky, Zhiyu and Zinzi below also gradually woke up. Strange. Why did I fall asleep just now? No, I must have been hit by the opponent's spell. After waking up, he immediately checked his body for any abnormalities, but the result of the examination was that there was no problem. At this time, the trio not far away also gradually woke up. Their eyes were dazed, and they seemed to have not woken up yet. Just now, when Yu and Dazi made him in this world fall into a deep sleep, he naturally had to pull the others into a deep sleep. No matter what, this person has something to do with him, and he can't make a fool of himself in front of the three of them. Forget it, let's go first. Yu and Zinzi lifted up the three people who had just woken up with his hands. If the other party comes back again, I won't be able to deal with him. The few moves just now made him completely realize the gap between himself and the other party. If that person really wanted to kill him, he would be dead now. Seeing this child holding up the three people and leaving, Yu and Dazi's brows gradually frowned. Why can't we find any trace of the Archangel's staff and the Dark Star cloak? Where did they go? Chapter 780 A New Era. After going out, they found that it was already sunset. They had wasted too much time in the vast forest. Why am I so unlucky? A shadow appeared on Nobita's back. Why am I always the one struck by lightning? No, it was Fat Tiger before you. Yu and Dazi recalled the scene when he had beaten Fat Tiger before. That scene was so heroic. Until now, Fat Tiger would occasionally sing a few lines when he was in the mood, and then he would be electrocuted by the props given to him by Yu and Dazi, and could not take care of himself. Although it was indeed a bit unfair to Fat Tiger to do so, for the happiness of the people in the town, he had to sacrifice himself. Okay, everyone go back. Doraemon took out a small notebook. Nobita still has to write an observation diary, and I also have to adjust the time flow rate of the space blanket. The others did not stay any longer, turned around and left Nobita's room, and went back to their own homes. The next morning, Yu and Dazi and Dekisugi came to Nobita's house again, but found that Shizuka was already waiting for them in the room. Nobita was also ready, and said with a smile, "If you don't come again, I'm going to call you." Both of them glanced at Nobita in doubt. Didn't expect him to be so diligent now. The power of love is really strong. Okay, stop talking nonsense. Doraemon took out the god cloud. Let's go and take a look. Now 20,000 years have passed. The group returned to the space blanket again. At this time, the continent that looked like Japan drifted out again. Let's go, that's where we went last time. Nobita pointed to the place where he landed yesterday and said, I wonder how their descendants are now. Doraemon waved his hand nonchalantly. Don't think too much. If we are destined, you will meet again naturally. No, we will definitely meet again. And as he complained in his heart, he knew what the future development would be. At this time, the trees below had been almost cut down and replaced by square farmlands, which were already planted with rice. Izuku looked at the cracked land below and frowned. It seems that there has been no rain recently, and the harvest this time may not be very good. Then he picked up a piece of rice with his spiritual power and put it in his hand to observe carefully. Sure enough, the rice has turned yellow due to lack of water. Daisuke, you should be able to make rain, right? Izuku looked at Yu and Daisuke, hoping that he could help once. Of course. Yu and Daisuke, who was sitting on the cloud, nodded, but I have no reason to help them. Let it develop. Hearing the sending, Izuku sighed lightly. He had already expected Yu and Daisuke's answer. And Nobita frowned with some dissatisfaction. You and classmate, you are really ruthless. Doraemon, let's help them. Let's wait and see if the Lord has any method. Doraemon did not act immediately, but wanted to see the ruler. He didn't think that the ancients would be so fragile. Maybe the rulers here have prepared enough food to relieve the disaster. Moreover, the drought was not that serious, and it was far from the point where the gods needed to intervene. It would be better to wait and see for the time being. With the help of the god cloud, they soon arrived at the place where the residents of this village lived, a small town surrounded by wooden fences. It's such a small place. Nobita was a little disgusted, and their living place is so simple. Shizuka looked at Nobita with a hint of helplessness in her eyes. Nobita, don't laugh at them. If it were you, I guess you wouldn't even be able to build a house. Seeing that Shizuka seemed a little angry, Nobita quickly put away his attitude and looked at the building below quietly. Doraemon continued to lower the height of the god cloud so that Nobita could carefully observe the situation here and write an observation diary. Most of the houses now are made of a few pieces of wood and a piece of animal skin. Only the house in the center is built of pure wood. In this wooden house, Yu and Daisuke and Demushan both felt a very strange but very warm power. This should be the power of faith, right? Yu and Daisuke thought to himself, if I take away this part of the power, I have to respond to their prayers. At this time, he was a little tempted. If he took away this part of the power of faith, a rain might be able to offset the cause and effect. But if he failed, then he would only be able to become a god in this world. Because of the cause and effect, he could only take action when the other party had an urgent need next time. If he did not pay off the cause and effect, he could only stay here. If he left forcibly, not only would he lose all the power brought by the power of faith, but his original strength might also drop significantly. Just as he was struggling, a roar suddenly came from behind him. Who are you? How dare you trespass into the temple? What? This is a temple. Nobita's face turned red instantly. He didn't expect that the people here loved him so much that they built a temple for him. Doraemon scratched his head in annoyance. He was too low and was accidentally discovered by the guards of the watchtower. Come here, there are invaders. The guard in coarse cloth waved his hand and waved his hand. Shoot them all down. The guards on the city wall quickly gathered and took out the wooden bows and arrows behind them and aimed at the unknown people in the clouds. Shoot. With the guard's order, the arrows with stones tied to the arrowheads flew towards them in an overwhelming manner. Although it's just stone, it's sharp. It's still very dangerous to be shot. Yu and Daisuke raised his right hand, and the arrows stopped in the air. Seeing this strange scene, the people below all stopped their actions subconsciously. Could this also be a divinely inspired person? Then a flame suddenly appeared on Yu and Daisuke's right hand. Dare to attack me? Forget it, I'll teach you a lesson. After saying that, he threw the fireball in his hand with force. This is a return gift to you. After the flame left his hand, it split into countless tiny sparks, attached to any place it touched, and burned quietly on it. Oh, help. I'm on fire. Water, hurry up and get me some water. The sound of burning and screaming intertwined, and everyone felt a little bit uncomfortable. How could it be so excessive? Daisuke, that's enough. Chumushin couldn't bear it anymore. You don't have to torture them with magic like this. Originally, he had felt for a while that Yu and Daisuke's emotions had become increasingly indifferent, and it seemed that he had begun to lose his humanity. Recently, he finally got a little better, and now this kind of thing happened again. It seems that his emotions have not recovered yet. Could it be that, because of practicing this magic, the price of quickly becoming stronger is that his own emotions will gradually disappear? Unexpectedly, Yu and Azzy frowned and denied, "No, according to the amount of magic power I gave, this magic should only burn their skin red, not burn. There is something wrong with the natural power here." Chapter 781 The Divine Enlightenment. Thinking of this, Yu and Azzy waved his hand again, and a cold current gushed out. The light blue cold mist rolled up the entire wooden wall with an unstoppable force. After the cold current ended, most of the guards were covered with a layer of frost and lay on the ground shivering. However, there was good news for them, that is, the flames on their bodies and on the walls were completely extinguished, and there was no need to worry about being burned to death. Yu and Azzy stood up. "Let's leave here first. The energy here seems to be a little too friendly to me." "Okay, then let's go to that mountain first." Doraemon pointed to a mountain forest with lush trees and asked for the opinions of everyone present. Everyone said that they had no problem, and then Doraemon drove the god cloud away quickly, leaving a lot of mess. After landing again, everyone got off the god cloud and began to observe the subsequent reactions of the residents of the village. A group of people who looked like residents came up to carry the injured people down for treatment, and then another team came up and replaced the guards just now. "Deiji-kun, what happened just now?" Dekisugi looked at Yu and Deiji, hoping to get a reasonable explanation. Although he was a little cold, he would not kill someone for such a small matter. Maybe there was really an unknown reason. "There is a problem with the properties of the surrounding energy. When I cast magic, the natural force I attracted was much more than when I was outside." At this moment, Nobita suddenly interrupted. "I think you did it on purpose. You actually treat my people like this. It's really too much." "Oh. So you call yourself God? If you are dissatisfied with my behavior, come and fight me." "Got." Seeing that Yu and Deiji was serious, Shizuka hurriedly stood in front of them. "Forget it. We are all classmates. Why should we be unhappy because of such a small matter? TSK, I won't bother with you." The guilty Nobita hurriedly walked down the steps given to him by Shizuka. After ending a war of gods that had not yet begun, Shizuka looked at Doraemon again. "Is there any way to know what is happening inside without going in?" "No problem. Look at my spy satellite." The blue fat man took out this old prop again and began to check the situation inside the village. Yu and Azzy was adjusting his adaptability to the energy of the surrounding environment to avoid causing any big trouble next time he took action. It's strange to say that I always hope that the power of magic will be stronger, but now I dislike the power of magic being too strong. Okay, I have successfully sneaked into the village. Doraemon looked at the picture sent back. "Why don't we go to see the temple first?" Hearing what he said, others also gathered in front of the screen. They were also very curious about this so-called temple. "Oh, I almost forgot." Doraemon pressed a button on the spy satellite. "Enter stealth mode first, so as not to be discovered." The eyes and ears around the temple entered the invisible state, and then quietly passed through the gap between the haystacks on the roof. After a brief period of darkness, an old woman with only 2 teeth suddenly appeared on the screen, and suddenly yelled, "Aya!" Nobita, Doraemon and Shizuka were so scared that their hair stood up. Who is this person? Have they encountered a ghost? Then the old woman waved the copper bell in her hand and began to dance a dance that no one could understand, and she was still mumbling something in her mouth. Nobita, who finally came to his senses, looked at the screen with a look of disgust. What is this old woman doing? Is she suffering from a strange disease? You can't say that, Nobita, it's very rude. Demission couldn't help but correct his mistake. And Yu and Azzy glanced at the screen. I think according to the current situation, you shouldn't be wrong to say that. Seeing that even he was talking nonsense, Demission had to start explaining the situation for them. This should be the most primitive religion, shamanism. They believe that witches can communicate with gods and get instructions. They can communicate with gods? Nobita subconsciously pointed at his nose. Aren't the gods hear them? Yu and Azzy curled his lips. They are just here to eat and drink for free. They don't get any instructions. They are just talking nonsense. What? How can you do this? Nobita rolled up his sleeves angrily, intending to go over and expose the witch's deception. It's useless. You'd better stay here. Zio-chan stretched out his hand to stop Nobita. Even if you go out now and say that you are God, no one will believe it. Hearing this, Nobita looked at him very puzzled. Why? Isn't it enough to just show your strength? You will know the reason soon. Demushan did not answer Nobita's question directly, but continued to stare at the screen. Yu and Dazhi also nodded, without any intention of taking action, because the next thing was the start of the show. At this moment, the witch on the screen suddenly roared, and then seemed to lose all her strength, and fell to the ground limply. The man who had been kneeling beside her hurried over, picked up the witch and shouted, "How is it? Did you get the revelation from God?" "Yes." The witch took off the white cloth on her head and said, "Tie this cloth to the arrow, and then give it to the one who is inspired by God, and go to Maocean. Let him shoot an arrow into the air, and the family, where this arrow falls, must hand over the youngest woman in the family." The man in white hurriedly did as he was told. Soon, a man who looked exactly like Yu and Dazhi came up with an arrow in his hand. This arrow was different from the ordinary arrows used in the previous shooting. The arrowhead was made of a magical metal. It has changed again. Yu and Dazhi was not surprised. This magic metal does not match my properties, and the quantity is too small, so forget it. Nobita and the others were in an uproar again. It's Yu and classmate again. Could it be that this Yu and classmate can also use superpowers? Doraemon nodded solemnly. Yes, I suspect that the divinely inspired person they just mentioned is what we call a superpower. So even if we show our power, the other party will not believe what we say. And if we continue to force our way into the temple, then this person will definitely be hostile to us, which is not good news. Demushan smiled and shook his head. Don't worry, this person's power is still too weak to compare with us. He looked at the divinely inspired person on the screen and suddenly remembered what Yu and Dazhi said before, that their magic was passed down from generation to generation. Originally, he still had some doubts about this statement, but now after seeing the development of the parallel world, he no longer had any doubts. While talking, the old woman had tied the white cloth, and the divinely inspired person also ran out of the temple and began to head towards Maocean not far away. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 782, The Props of Chumushan. Watching this divine revelation pointing the arrow at the sky, Nobita scratched his head, still not understanding why these people did this. Doraemon, he said that the family, where the arrow fell, should hand over their youngest daughter. What is it for? It should be a sacrifice to the gods they believe in. Doraemon has already reached into his pocket, ready to stop this disaster. Although the matter has nothing to do with them, as a childlike robot, he will never allow a person to lose his life in front of him. Wait a minute. And as he stretched out his hand to stop him, I will handle it. This time I will let her know the consequences of lying. Seeing Yu and Daz's smirk, Doraemon silently retracted his hand, and he suddenly began to sympathize with the old woman. At this moment, a sharp arrow shot up into the sky and fell to the residential area below with a sharp sound of wind. Hearing this sound, the people below, including the elderly and children, subconsciously stopped their actions, because this meant that the gods had given revelations again. If he moves now, it will be equivalent to disrespecting the gods. If someone reports him, he will definitely be sacrificed to the gods together. It's really a big noise. Yu and Dazhi smiled. Just right. Let me teach you a profound lesson. The levitation technique acted on the arrow in the sky, and the original trajectory of the sharp arrow changed slightly, and the arrowhead gradually deviated to the location of the temple. Not good. The divine enlightener quickly used his superpowers. How can the arrow fall to the temple? No, there is only one woman in the temple. Another force that controls objects acts on the arrow, not only deviating the direction of the arrow, but also slowing down the speed of the arrow. Feeling the resistance coming from the arrow, Yu and Dazhi frowned. Damn it, why did he come out to stop me? But you are not qualified to fight with me. After saying that, the energy acting on the arrow suddenly increased, and he instantly gained the initiative. Then his mental power turned into a sharp cone and pierced into the opponent's extended power, completely defeating the consciousness contained in it. Without the last obstacle, the arrow followed the trajectory that Jiyu and Dazi had planned and directly pierced the witch's coat. The divinely inspired person on the top of the mountain shed a stream of blood and tears, kneeling on the ground and muttering to himself, "Damn it, is there really an omnipotent God in this world? It seems that what we have done has made life unbearable, so it will punish us. But why is it finally it's over." Yu and Dazi clapped his hands in satisfaction and at the same time cast his eyes on the screen to observe the situation in the temple. At this time, the witch looked at the arrow hanging on her clothes with a shocked face, and the wooden cup in her hand fell to the ground because she lost her self-consciousness, allowing the hot water to spill all over the floor. "How could this arrow fall on me? This is absolutely impossible." The witch stretched out her shriveled hand and tried to pull the arrow off her clothes, and then asked the divinely inspired person to go up and shoot again. But the arrow seemed to be connected to her body, and she couldn't pull it off, no matter how hard she tried. "My dear witch, this is God's will." The man in white stood up and said, "God needs your loyal servant to accompany him." The leader's tone was very firm. The witch felt that her heart seemed to stop for a moment. Is this retribution? A team of guards suddenly rushed out of the door, pressed the woman who had been dominating the world to the ground, and took out a hemp rope. "No, I will never accept this result." The witch suddenly struggled violently. "The so-called white god does not exist at all. Don't try to kill me." Hearing this, the man in white clenched his fists and roared, "That's not what you said when you sent my daughter away. Ha ha ha. That's just that you are too stupid. You even believe this kind of thing." The witch's face was suddenly filled with a crazy smile. "Even if you know the truth, what? You still can't do anything to me. Do you want to disobey the Yuan family?" There was no fear in the witch's eyes. "Don't forget how terrible the power of the God-inspired one is." At this point, the guards' hands suddenly stopped, and they couldn't help but recall what happened on the day when the two people came. The child who didn't look big just waved his hand, and all the people standing in front of him were blown away by the strong wind. None of them would doubt the other's ability. The child was definitely capable of killing everyone in the camp and leaving in style. Nobita outside the screen was indignant. "Damn old witch, how many people did he kill? I must go over and teach him a lesson." Yu and Dazi looked at him coldly. "Stop right there. The divine enlightener will be back soon. Are you going to die? Do you want us to watch like this?" Nobita stared at Yu and Dazi. He absolutely couldn't bear it this time. Who knew that Izuki suddenly threw a black metal block to Nobita? "No, we mean that you should put this thing on before you go." The metal block spread out in the air into 6 parts of different sizes and then fell on Nobita's limbs, torso and head. However, the pain that Nobita expected from being hit did not come, because these things began to deform as soon as they touched the skin. The cube seemed to dissolve, turning into countless tiny particles that reassembled on Nobita's body according to the predetermined trajectory, and finally turned into a set of armor. This is the defensive weapon that Izuki made to deal with the sun god, and some nanotechnology was added to make it easy to carry. Anyway, he never knows when he will suddenly encounter the sun god, and it will make him feel a little safer if he always carries it with him. Wow, so awesome. Nobita looked at the pure black metal coat and suddenly felt extremely happy. This is the dream of all boys. No, I'm going to go over and try the power of this armor now. Wait, the real god is here. Looking at Nobita soaring into the sky, Izuki couldn't help but curl his lips. Now he feels uncomfortable whenever he hears the so-called god. Doraemon was still a little worried. Can Nobita really do it? He failed with all the powerful props I used before. Shizuka also asked nervously, "Mr. Raizuku, are you sure that the armor will work? This is related to Nobita's safety." "Don't worry, it may be a problem against the sun god, but it will be fine against the god-inspired one." Yu and Daisy put his hand on Shizuka's shoulder to reassure her. He had just tested the opponent's strength, not to mention exceeding the upper limit of endurance. It was still far from making him retreat a step. "Don't worry, we can always provide support." Izuku put on headphones. "Now let me see the first show of the armor." Chapter 783 Gods Coming. At this time, the diviner had successfully returned to the so-called temple, with a streak of scarlet blood hanging from the corner of his eye. Let my mother go. Lightning appeared on the diviner's hand. If you let her go, we will say goodbye and never see each other again. The white-clothed leader also gnashed his teeth and shouted, "Dream on. You killed my daughter in the name of sacrifice. Why don't you mention it now? But didn't it rain in the end? Did we lie to you?" The diviner was a little anxious in his words. He was very worried about the witch in front. Besides, the white god needs food sacrifices, otherwise it will definitely come out to cause trouble everywhere. This is also for your good. The leader wanted to say something else, but the witch below suddenly interrupted and said, "Why bother talking to these mortals? Just kill them. Just kill them all, and take this place for yourself. Then there will be no restrictions on what we want to do." At this moment, a majestic voice suddenly sounded from above. "You which are really bad enough, let God judge you." Immediately afterwards, a lightning bolt fell on the witch, and a burnt smell quickly filled the entire temple. Although the lightning was powerful, the guards next to the other party did not suffer any damage, but instead felt an indescribable calm. Damn, who is playing tricks? A bow and arrow appeared in the hands of the god-inspired one. "Come out, I must avenge my mother." The haystack on the temple suddenly flew into the sky by itself, and Nobita drove the god cloud and slowly landed in front of them. The sunlight in the sky and the floating grass catkins combined together, looking like feathers flying everywhere, instantly filling Nobita's eyes. "I'm the Lord who created everything in this world, the omniscient and omnipotent God, the only faith that belongs to you." So much nonsense. You are at most the same as me. Without saying a word, the god-inspired one raised his hand and aimed the bow and arrow at Nobita's head, pulling the bow to the limit. There is no god in this world. After saying that, he let go of his hand, and the sharp arrow went straight to Nobita's forehead with a whistling sound. Ding. When the arrow was 1 meter away from Nobita's head, the arrow seemed to hit an invisible barrier, and was bounced off by the energy light curtain. Nobita, who was at the top of the cloud, did not change his expression at all, nor did he have any emotion, as if he was looking at an ant. Mushin wrote down the energy parameters. I didn't expect him to be so calm. Thanks to him not moving, I was able to get the complete parameters. Hearing this, Yu and Daisy next to him curled his lips quietly. No, I think he just didn't react just now. Normally, he could stand still and be hit by a baseball, not to mention this kind of magic arrow that is countless times faster than a baseball. However, seeing that Mushin was so happy, Yu and Daisy was too lazy to expose him. At least it was not a wrong choice to let Nobita go. "You see your master, why don't you kneel down?" Nobita looked at the people below calmly. In fact, he was almost scared to faint just now. God, I didn't expect that the task of being a god is so dangerous. I'd better not take risks to do this again in the future. But Nobita looked at the people who were slowly bowing down below and suddenly changed his mind. You can still come and play under the condition of ensuring safety. This is the taste of power, which can make an ordinary person's temperament change instantly, because some things can never be put down once you get them. But the divinely inspired person here still did not give up. "No, you are just a little stronger than me. Let me see how I can pull you down." 3 more magic arrows were shot at Nobita's arm, heart and abdomen, but they were all blocked by the energy light curtain. Izuki continued to record the parameters on the computer. The defense of the limbs seems to be weaker. I have to check the energy circuit when I go back. The energy power output of the energy cube is normal at present. Generally speaking, this set of armor should not have any hidden dangers. Izuki nodded with satisfaction. This means that his basic knowledge is correct, but the energy limit of the armor is still unclear. When the divinely inspired person continued to touch the quiver, he found that the bag behind him was empty, and the god in front of him was not affected at all. Blaster. Nobita raised his palm expressionlessly and pointed it at him. You must pay the price for your actions. The palm of the black armor lit up, and an invisible shock wave rushed out from the palm. Even the surrounding wind was emptied. The divinely inspired person below did not expect the opponent's counterattack to come so quickly, and was hit by the shockwave without any defense. Puff. The divinely inspired one who was hit spat out a mouthful of blood, and flew back dozens of meters with the debris on the ground, before falling to the ground. Seeing this scene, a trace of panic flashed in Nobita's eyes. No way, the energy weapon equipped with this armor is so powerful? Although he wanted to teach the other party a lesson, it was not to the point of killing, right? And it was not his place to kill. Nonsense, that was done according to our standard. Luckily I blocked it for him. Chumushin continued to record the energy parameters just now, and he didn't seem to be worried at all. The energy output just now was 30%, and the energy is roughly equivalent to the third level magic dense fire net you cast before. Yu and Dazzy shook his head. No, the dense fire net also absorbed the surrounding natural power after it was launched, and the energy index is higher than you think. I see. Chumushin had no objection and slightly modified his data to avoid errors at critical moments. Just when Nobita was about to save the man, Yu and Dazzy's voice suddenly appeared in his ears. Don't worry, this person is not in danger of death. You just need to do your own thing now. I will find a way to deal with his problem later. After hearing Yu and Dazzy's voice, for some reason, Nobita's heart calmed down involuntarily and continued to play the role. Yu and Dazzy continued. Okay, now let's ask about the white god they are talking about. There must be something wrong with this thing. Nobita pointed his cane at the kneeling man in white below. Why do you believe in the white god? Because these two people said that, as long as we offer sacrifices to the white god, he will bless us with good weather. So we keep offering sacrifices to the white god. Nobita continued to say as planned. So where will the sacrifices you mentioned before be sent? Tell me in detail. The man in white told Nobita everything he knew without reservation. The so-called white god was in the snow-capped mountains to the north of here. Seeing that he had almost known the information he wanted to know, Nobita nodded. Very good. I will go to meet him now. Please let us go together. Everyone present knelt together. Nobita's mouth twitched. He couldn't refuse. Chapter 784 Contact. Looking at these people, Dakshin was a little embarrassed because he actually wanted Yu and Dazzy and the others to solve the problem. But then he thought about it. He was wearing this invincible suit. How could he be afraid of the so-called white god? Not to mention the white god he had never met. Even if it was the real sun god he had seen, he would dare to go over and fight him now. Thinking of this, Dakshin said to the people below with a cold face, okay, then I will take you to expose the true face of this false god. Yes, we will lead the way for you right away. The man in white hurriedly made arrangements. There must be no slackness for the real god, otherwise the two people would end up like this. After everyone left, the people who had been remotely monitoring behind them finally started to act. Yu and Dazzy stood up and patted the dust on his body. I'm going to the temple to see if that guy's really related to the witch. I'll go with you, and I just happen to want his blood. Chumushin put away his monitoring equipment and prepared to set off with him. Then we won't accompany you. Doraemon and Shizuka took out the bamboo copter because I'm still worried about Nobita. Yu and Dazzy nodded. Everyone has their own things to do, and there is no need to force the other party to act with them. Let's separate here. Yu and Dazzy invoked the law of space. After we finish our business here, we will go to meet you. After that, the two of them disappeared from the spot and appeared directly in the already somewhat dilapidated wooden temple. What a convenient ability. Doraemon and Shizuka put on the bamboo copter and took off. I have to say that magic does have many places that technology cannot match. After arriving at the temple, Yu and Dazzy walked in front of the divine enlightenment and used the levitation technique to remove some blood from the corner of his mouth. Then he took a little blood from the witch and gave it to Demishin. Help me see if they are biological children. So you came here specifically for this? Demishin took the blood with a wry smile and began to do a paternity test for the two people. After a long time, Izuki finally gave a positive answer. No, according to the results of the comparison, they are definitely not biological children. If I'm not mistaken, this person who looks like you should be an adopted son, and then he was subtly brainwashed by the witch. While speaking, Izuki also extracted the blood of the divinely inspired person, which could be used to analyze the other party's genes. Because these people's abilities seem to be innate, if he can successfully find the other party's genes, maybe he can also have similar powers. At the same time, Izuki also lifted the suppression on his soul, allowing him to wake up from his deep sleep on his own initiative. Ahem, am I still alive? The divinely inspired person coughed up some blood that had already turned black again and slowly opened his eyes. The power of the previous attack was still deeply ingrained in his mind. The opponent defeated him with just a hand. The gap in strength was too big. If you look at the physical state, yes. And as he looked at his expression that had lost his fighting spirit, the mental state is not necessarily. Being defeated by a person he had never heard of and who looked like a child was a huge blow to him mentally. However, if he could take the initiative to get out of this hurdle, it would be a sublimation for his soul. Maybe he could turn a disaster into a blessing and reach a higher level of strength. Of course, these are all uncertain factors. How far he can go depends on his own awareness. The divine enlightenment did not speak, but turned his head to look at the place where the witch was. My mother, is she still alive now? Of course, although her condition is relatively poor, but she is not in danger of life. And as he looked at the witch again and gave his own conclusion. The main reason is that the first attack of Nobita used the cane lightning instead of the armor zone attack. Otherwise the witch would definitely have no way to survive. That's good. The divine enlightenment seemed to accept his fate and lay on the ground with his whole body relaxed. You can do whatever you want to me. No, I'm not interested in your life. And as he stretched out his hand to grab these arrows, and these things are still valuable. Chumashin also didn't want to embarrass him. After all, this person can be regarded as and as his ancestor in a sense. As he walked up to the diviner with interest, you fought so hard for her, but you know she's not your biological mother? This is meaningless. The diviner said calmly, whether she is my biological mother or not, at least she raised me. If it weren't for her, I would have starved to death in the ice and snow sooner or later, so I don't care who my biological mother is. Hearing this, and as his anger towards him for his evil deeds also dissipated by half, and he stood up and said, then take your mother away, and don't come back here again. I know. Thank you. The diviner stood up with all his strength, carried the witch on the ground, and slowly walked towards the gate. Now all the guards have left with the leader, so no one stopped them, so it was a decent way to go. Looking at their receding backs, Chumashin suddenly felt a little emotional. I didn't expect that this witch actually has some humanity. Maybe there was, but it is not ruled out that she discovered that this child has superpowers and planned to use him from the beginning. Because the witch has not woken up yet, they can't use the method of questioning to find out what she was thinking back then. And even if she did a good thing back then, it can't change what she did just now. The evil person is the evil person. You can't completely deny a good person because he did a bad thing, and you can't ignore the fact that he is an evil person because he did a good thing. As he was talking, a huge clock phantom appeared on the ground of the entire village, and the constantly beating second hand stopped at this moment. Then the hour hand slowly turned, and the surrounding scene began to flow backwards rapidly, returning to the way it was before it was destroyed. The damage to the city wall and the temple is more or less related to the Yuandazhi. Now that we are leaving, it is better to find a way to cut off this cause and effect. Well, we have finished everything here. I wonder how things are going over there. Yuandazhi looked at his watch. I didn't expect that 2 hours have passed without me noticing. Let's hurry up. That's true, but it seems that it will be dark here soon. Izuki looked at the sun that had completely set, with some worry in his eyes. I just don't know how far the journey is. I hope I can get back before the sun sets in the world we live in. Chapter 785 Arrival. Doraemon and Shizuka were following the main group. It was already dark and snowflakes were starting to fall from the sky. Nobita, who was floating in the center of the group, rubbed his nose and said, "Why is it so cold? Didn't Izuku add air conditioning to this armor?" The temperature was already below zero, and Nobita was only wearing a short-sleeved shirt. The cold machine couldn't bring him any warmth. He also had to consider his image as the god of creation. He couldn't sneeze or show any signs of feeling cold. Achoo. Doraemon in the sky sneezed. I didn't expect the temperature here to be so low at night. Shizuka also covered her shoulders and coughed twice. Yeah, Doraemon, do you have any props to keep warm? We are wearing very little. If we continue like this, we will definitely catch a cold when we go back. Of course I have. I would have forgotten if you hadn't told me. Doraemon took out the opposite cream and applied a little bit to Shizuka and himself. The moment they applied the opposite cream, the two felt that the world was warm, and they even wanted to take off a piece of clothing to cool down. Finally comfortable. Shizuka breathed a sigh of relief and then looked at Nobita with some worry. I just don't know how he is now. Doraemon said not to worry, it's okay. The armor on Nobita will definitely keep warm. This is designed by Dekisugi. That's right. Shizuka also nodded in agreement. Dekisugi is very thoughtful and will definitely not ignore the temperature. At this time, the space around them fluctuated slightly, and Gian and Eiji and Dekisugi walked out of the space door. Gian, Dekisugi, have you solved the problem over there? How did you deal with them in the end? Gian and Eiji briefly summarized. Nothing. They promised not to do evil in the future, and we let them go. Hearing that this ending was relatively satisfactory, Shizuka also breathed a sigh of relief. At least there were no victims in this incident. By the way, do you want this? Doraemon took out the opposite cream. The temperature here is relatively low. Be careful of catching a cold. Although Yu and Daisuke and Imushin had refused once before, considering that they were all companions, it was better to ask again. In this way, even if they caught a cold, there was no reason to blame Doraemon for not using the props properly. We appreciate your kindness. Yu and Daisuke refused again as they expected. We really can't use this prop. Imushin glanced at Nobita who was moving forward below. Judging from his performance, Nobita should also be coated with the opposite cream, right? Because of the budget volume and non-essential reasons, Imushin did not install any temperature control device on it. Moreover, the material is a special alloy specially used to prevent high temperatures. It is okay when encountering high temperatures, and it can ensure that the user will not be too hurt. But the disadvantage is that it has little resistance to low temperatures and cannot ensure the safety of the user at lower temperatures. So everyone thought that Nobita was safe, but he could only stay in the low temperature environment and could not call for help. After flying for several hours, the sun reappeared on the top of the mountain, and the temperature in the early morning dropped to the bottom of the valley. Lord God, we are here. The man in white ran to Nobita and said respectfully, it's in the cave ahead. Nobita, whose eyes were frozen into a cross shape, stood up reluctantly. Now he felt that it would be warmer inside the god cloud. Are we finally here? As soon as he walked out of the comfortable cloud nest, a cold wind came out, and Nobita trembled subconsciously. However, the people below had already knelt on the ground, so no one noticed this little ugly thing, including Yu and Daisuke, and others in the distance. Nobita manipulated the god cloud to approach the cave. Damn white god, you have harmed my people, and now I will judge your sins. After saying that, Nobita raised his left hand that was not holding the god staff, and aimed at the dark cave entrance with an attack electromagnetic pulse from the armor. Boom. The invisible shockwave hit the cave entrance, and a large number of boulders collapsed, erupting layers of beautiful white smoke. Seeing this, Dekisugi quickly took out the intercom. Nobita, don't use electromagnetic pulses here, it may cause an avalanche. You know, those people below don't have advanced props like you have, and they are likely to be buried under the snow mountain. At this point, his voice suddenly became smaller. He remembered that the parents of the person next to him seemed to have died in this way. He secretly glanced at Yu and Daisuke. Although this scene was indeed very frustrating, he still couldn't see any joy or anger on his face. Seeing that he was not angry, Dekisugi also relaxed. It seems that Yu and Daisuke has completely let go of his past, which is great. But Nobita was scared. What did you say? Electromagnetic pulses can actually cause an avalanche? Whenever he thought of the situation just now, he would be scared. If an avalanche really caused someone's death, he might never be able to rest in peace in this life. Dekisugi began to quickly operate the terminal. Don't worry, I will adjust the energy circuit for you and change the electromagnetic pulse to a laser. Because it was originally intended for Yu and Daisuke or himself to use, they themselves have their own methods of manipulating energy. Therefore, they can freely control whether to use laser or electromagnetic pulse when raising their hands, but Nobita can't do this. After a while, Dekisugi set up a new program. Okay, next you raise your left hand to use the laser cannon. Nobita nodded. Isn't it just shooting with the left hand? If it's shooting, Nobita has never been afraid of anyone in his life. At this moment, a hysterical roar suddenly came from the cave, as if some extremely terrifying beast had awakened from its slumber. The people at the back subconsciously stepped back several steps, and they felt a palpitation just by hearing the roar. Although they already knew that the white god did not exist, the concept accumulated over the years could not be erased in such a short time, and the white god was still the white god. In other words, in their eyes, what was going to happen next was not exorcism, but a terrible battle between gods. Nobita also put away his contempt. After all, the power brought by the armor was not his own, and his body was still very fragile. Dekisugi was also ready for data collection, and Yu and Dazi began to gather magic power, ready to support Nobita at any time. Soon, a pure white head slowly emerged from the cave, and its blood-red eyes stared at Nobita in the air. Chapter 786 God vs. White God. Finally out, Nobita raised his hand and pointed at Bashan below, then let you see the power of the god of creation. The circular pattern on the palm lit up, and a deep red laser shot out from Nobita's palm, directly taking Bashan's head. At this critical moment, Bashan twisted hard and avoided this fatal part, but was still pierced by the high temperature laser. Izuki continued to record the data. The charging time is about half a second, which is difficult for ordinary people to react, but it is a fatal time for us. And after the laser has lethality, the speed is impossible to reach the speed of light, which also causes the opponent to have a certain reaction time. And Yu and Dazi looked at the broken hard armor and exclaimed, it only took 30 energy outputs to reach this point. Not bad. It's still far behind us. Zyadishan's eyes never left the screen. He still needed to know more data. Bashan was completely enraged by this laser, and opened his mouth to spray a light yellow substance at Nobita, which quickly began to burn when it met the air. Nobita watched helplessly. Oh no, what should I do now? Can I dodge? How should I dodge? Up or down? A lot of useless information instantly filled his mind. Whenever he encountered danger, he would lose his composure like now. Because this flame seemed to be matter, rather than pure energy, the energy barrier set up by Izuki had no effect on it. At this moment, the mecha behind Nobita's head quickly extended outwards, forming a pure black helmet covering his head. The flame fell on Nobita as expected, and Izuki's computer began to truthfully feed back all the information of the armor. The combustion temperature of the unknown liquid is about 800 degrees Celsius, and the temperature inside the armor rises by about 0.15 degrees Celsius. The high temperature has almost no effect on the armor. Seeing this scene, Izuki was completely relieved. At least there is no problem with the original intention of developing this thing. But Doraemon didn't know, and put on the bamboo dragonfly and the reflective cloak. Nobita is in danger now. I want to save him. What kind of danger can it be? Izuki turned his head and looked at the blue fat man in confusion. Are you doubting his top invention? Your armor doesn't cover his head. Doraemon looked at Izuki angrily. If Nobita is burned and disfigured, how can I explain to his family? He wanted to leave just now, but a mysterious force kept pulling his legs, making it impossible for him to leave. Shizuka also looked at the flames on the screen with worry. Yeah, if that's the case, then Nobita is too miserable, right? Don't worry, we are watching. Nothing will happen. Izuki wrote the data in the notebook calmly, without any worry. Then he pointed at Yu and Dazi with the tip of his pen. Even if something really happens, his support speed will definitely be faster than yours. And their mental power has been watching the battlefield all the time. If something really happens, they can react immediately. Looking at Yu and Dazi standing aside, Doraemon and Shizuka felt relieved for no reason. What they said made sense. In the end, Doraemon sat back in his seat. Anyway, he remembered that Yu and Dazi could even save the dead, so the Linoop should be fine. The flames on the screen dissipated, revealing Nobita, who had put on a helmet at some point and was finally intact. I was scared to death. Nobita looked at the virtual electronic screen that appeared in front of him. By the way, this thing of Mushin is too advanced, right? Mushin smiled. This was the inspiration he got after experiencing VR last time, and it was a 360-degree projection without dead angles. At this moment, two rocket boosters appeared behind Nobita, slowly rising with Nobita, completely abandoning the god cloud under his feet. Since you can dodge long-range attacks, Nobita rushed towards Shirakami in a classic Superman pose. Let's have a close-range fight. As soon as he finished speaking, Nobita hit Shirakami hard like a rocket, and then both the man and the bug left a dent on the rock. Shirakami spat out a stream of dark green blood, and the outer armor, where Nobita's fist hit, was completely shattered. Haha, you dare to attack the god of creation. Nobita raised his arms high. How about it? This is the power of the god of creation. Seeing this, Doraemon's face fell. I'm so stupid, I actually spent time worrying about this fool. Deki continued to record faithfully. The output power is 20%, and the armor wear is 0, but it still does not meet the test standard. The impact force is still not strong enough. At least it must hit the stone at full power, and it will be considered successful without deformation and wear. But it is obvious that this Shirakami is not worth using such a large power, and the environment prone to avalanches also does not allow it. Oh, Nobita, don't get too carried away. And as he suddenly grabbed the microphone, be careful, this white god seems to have 2 heads. Hearing and as his words, Nobita didn't take it to heart. Cut off 2 heads, so it's 2. I'll beat another one. No, I mean, the other head is already behind you. And as he pointed to the shadow on the screen and said, what? Nobita's smug smile froze on his face instantly. Why did you tell me such important information only now? Roar. The other head opened its mouth and sprayed out a stream of white air. Wherever the breath passed, even the air became slow. Nobita, who was caught off guard, was sprayed with the white breath, and a thick layer of frost quickly formed on the surface of the black armor on his body. D-Mushin sighed helplessly. Alas, it seems that everything I give to Nobita in the future must be equipped with a detection device. Because they had known that the other party had 2 heads for a long time, but they subconsciously thought that Nobita also knew it, so they never said it. No, adding a detection device is useless. And as he silently complained, it would be more convenient if you directly add an artificial intelligence to him in the future. Even if there is a detector, according to Nobita's careless character, he may ignore key information because he didn't pay attention. In this case, it would be better to use an artificial AI that has calculated everything. Otherwise Nobita will make mistakes sooner or later. After being frozen by the ice, Nobita shivered in the mecha. Why can't an air conditioner be installed here? The body is numb. Huh. Why did the temperature in the armor drop so much? He glanced at Doraemon. Didn't he apply the opposite cream to Nobita? Who knew that Doraemon looked at Deki with a surprised face. Didn't you set up a heat preservation system inside the armor? The 2 groups fell silent. They all thought that the other party helped Nobita keep the temperature, but as a result, he walked alone in the ice and snow for a whole night. However, Deki quickly adjusted. After the detector found that Nobita's physical condition was abnormal, he had to press the emergency button of the terminal, and something similar to a game controller appeared on the computer. Forget it, it's more convenient for me to control it. Dekisugi flexed his fingers and said, come to think of it, I haven't played games for a long time. Let me give it a try today. Chapter 787 High-End Operation. Just when the bug wanted to knock down Nobita in one go, for some reason, it suddenly felt a danger above its head. Izuki began to control the mecha through the handle. First, heat up the engine with all your strength to get rid of the opponent's frozen state. As soon as the voice fell, all the energy obtained from absorbing the flames just now was supplied to the 2 rocket boosters behind Nobita. The machine began to operate at high power, and the frost on the back melted away in a very short time. At the same time, the powerful thrust brought by the rocket also made Nobita leave his original position and fly into the sky, successfully avoiding the headbutt of Shirakami. Although he could guarantee that Nobita would not die if hit by this blow, considering the reasons of metal and human body, he still did not want to take risks. Successfully avoided the opponent's attack. Izuki continued to adjust the machine in an orderly manner. Now, release the heat absorbed by the mecha. After speaking, layers of steam emerged from the outer layer of the mecha, which were all the energy absorbed from the flames just now ejected by Shirakami. It is difficult for pure thermal insulation materials to increase the temperature only a little under flames of hundreds of degrees or even higher temperatures, and at the same time he has to consider the hardness and ductility of the material. So Izuku decided to use a double layer of armor. The outer black layer is responsible for absorbing heat and charging another energy storage device on the chest of the mecha. The middle layer of the two layers of armor is the purest heat insulating material, isolating the remaining energy that cannot be absorbed, and the last layer is still an energy absorbing layer. Under these protections, even if the armor is driven to the surface of the sun, it can ensure that the temperature inside does not rise more than 10 degrees. Nobita, who is inside the mecha, feels a warm feeling, and the body's perception is completely restored. Now he is full of confidence again. So he shouted into the intercom with a swell, "Hey, I was just ambushed just now. Let me continue to play now. Next move, laser beam cutting." In the microphone, instead of agreeing, a burst of emotionless electronic voice from Izuku came to him. Then Nobita felt his arm raised uncontrollably, and a deep red laser shot out from the palm of the armor. Izuku controlled Nobita's mecha, and now he seemed to be playing a game. He was about to start the unparalleled mode, and you suddenly said to change people. Is it possible? Then he controlled Nobita's arm to move outward quickly in the air, and the laser cut through everything in the way like a sharp blade. The head of Shiragami, that could spit frost, could not avoid it, and a part of its limbs was cut off by the laser, but no blood flowed out. This was the secondary damage caused by the high temperature of the laser. All the cut parts were completely carbonized, eliminating the possibility of regeneration. Raw. Shiragami rushed towards Nobita in the air, and at the same time, a thick column of fire poured out from his left head. Izuku looked at the monster's open mouth and suddenly became interested. Should I just rush into his mouth and kill it directly? But he quickly denied his idea. No, I still want its organ sac, and the undamaged organs are naturally the best. Thinking of this, the robot in the column of fire gave up the plan to attack, but turned in the air and circled under Shiragami. At this time, one of Shiragami's two heads was still looking at the sky, and the other had temporarily lost the ability to move. What a great opportunity. Dekisugi manipulated Nobita's 10 fingers to aim at Shirako's abdomen. Look at me, the finger gun. At the tip of a finger, the surface of the armor suddenly opened to reveal the energy ring inside, and quickly lit up the blue light representing energy concentration. Da da da. Countless blue light balls flew out from the fingertips and shot into Shirako's rough torso at an even faster speed, bringing a pool of blood. The two heads simultaneously raised their heads to the sky and screamed in pain. These light balls had completely hit its most fatal weakness. Seeing this situation, Dekisugi pressed a button on the handle. The winner has been decided. It's over. Nobita's right hand suddenly clenched into a fist, and a golden lightsaber extended from the connection between the back of his hand and the wrist, constantly vibrating in the air. This is one of the highest achievements of Dekisugi's research, the high-frequency particle cutter, which has unparalleled cutting ability and high temperature. Seeing this super cool laser sword, Nobita's eyes were straight. Isn't he the protagonist this time? Izuku, let me play. Nobita cried loudly in the armor. I want to play with ray guns and laser swords and become a Jedi Knight. Doraemon and Shizuka were also shocked. Such advanced things were really made by a 5th grade student? Then the blue fat man looked at Izuku again. Izuku must have contributed a lot to the development of future technology. Izuku ignored Nobita's request and turned off the dialogue function with his mental power. He was too lazy to listen to Nobita's crying. He pulled the handle back slightly, and the rocket thrusters behind Nobita immediately began to adjust the angle, and the whole person began to rise rapidly. In the end, Nobita and Shiragami's right head crossed each other, and the golden light left a black mark on the white shell. A breeze blew, and the right head fell off, revealing the flesh and bones inside the shell that had been burned black. It's so cool. Nobita was moved to tears after seeing this scene. Why can't I do such a cool move? Recalling the experience of being beaten from the beginning, Nobita suddenly felt desperate. Is the gap between them so big? In the end, after thousands of words, only one sentence remained. It's a pity. I shouldn't have brought Shizuka here. If Shizuka hadn't come, it would be okay, even if he was beaten. The people below were just passing clouds and would disappear when they came in next time. But after seeing this scene, Shizuka would definitely fall in love with Dekisugi. How would he compete with others then? I finally got rid of the troublesome things. Dekisugi breathed a sigh of relief. The next one that can spit fire will be much easier to deal with. He knew that this metal's ability to resist ice was not very strong, so he had to find a way to get rid of this biggest hidden danger before he could play with peace of mind. After all, the people in the battle suit were the fragile Nobita, not the thick-skinned warriors like them. Raw. Shirakami, who had lost his mind, opened his bloody mouth, intending to swallow the man and die with him. Izuka couldn't help but raise his mouth. Sure enough, he's crazy. Next, let's see how I use Nobita to give you the final blow. After saying that, Izuka controlled Nobita and took the initiative to meet Shirakami, who had completely fallen into madness, and then punched him in the chin. The open mouth was forcibly closed, and several teeth on the jaw fell off, and they were stained with green blood. Izuka kept pushing the two buttons on the handle back and forth. Look at my favorite ultimate move, machine gun punch. Driven by the armor, Nobita's hands seemed to be tireless, rushing at Shirakami's jaw at a high speed, quickly hitting the opponent's bones. Then, Zyadishin pressed the last button. It's time to give it the final blow. Flame burst fist. The lines on the right arm suddenly lit up, and the illusory energy flames burned on the arm, and then hit the opponent's head with all his strength. Chapter 788 Departure and Aftermath. After throwing the beaten and lifeless Bashin to the ground, Demishin put down the handle with satisfaction and returned the body to Nobita. Damn it. Nobita couldn't help crying. Why didn't you leave the opportunity to show yourself to me? We gave you the opportunity, but you are useless. Gian and Azzy and Demishin spread their hands at the same time and mocked him fiercely. At this time, the man in white stepped forward and said, Lord God of creation, have you solved this hateful evil god so quickly? Yes, this is the true face of the evil god. Nobita quickly regained his composure, pointed at the huge insect corpse below, and said expressionlessly, Great, Lord God of creation, you are really omnipotent. The man in white immediately knelt down. Please come to the village, we will offer you the most abundant tribute. Hearing this, Nobita instinctively wanted to refuse. He didn't know how long it would take to go back, and he didn't want to be arrogant again. Unexpectedly, Yu and Azzy came up and said, Don't worry, I will find a way to send you back immediately. Anyway, Junfei has something to deal with now, so he can't go back for a while, so why don't you go and have a meal? They walked all night, and they must be thirsty and hungry now, and Dakshin has been frozen for so long, so he also needs a rest. And everyone has been frozen all night, can't they enjoy themselves? Really? Then I won't be polite. Dakshin immediately turned to the man in white and said, Okay, now everyone close your eyes, I will send you back. Hearing that the god of creation was going to show miracles again, these people knelt on the ground, closed their eyes, and dared not speak. Dakshin is really good at changing his mind. Yu and Azzy sighed and began to use magic power. Well, let him pretend hard this time. At this moment, silver grey lines suddenly extended from their feet until they wrapped all the people here. With a flash of strong light, all the people within the range of the space magic pattern were sent back to the village where they started by Yu and Azzy. After doing all this, Yu and Azzy looked at Shizuka and Doraemon next to him and said, Do you want to go over and eat? Because their body structure has determined that they can go without food for 1 or 2 months. But these children are different. They are still growing. Moreover, the food here is truly natural. It would be a pity if they don't eat. Doraemon nodded vigorously. Then I'll trouble you. I haven't eaten the unique food here yet. Some of the ingredients now are extinct in the future, so the richness of the ingredients is very large, but the cooking technology is indeed far less than in the future. Shizuka also nodded in agreement. She naturally felt uncomfortable not having eaten for so long, but she was still quite strong and would not say these things easily. As soon as the voice fell, Yu and Azzy had already sent them to Nobita and let them have a good meal. After doing all this, Yu and Azzy looked at his hands and said to himself, Sure enough, using any law here consumes much less magic power. Then we can find a way to trick the sun god here in the future. Chumushin put away the computer and began to think about the future battle plan. After that, their figures appeared next to the corpse of Beishen, ready to dissect this terrible creature. To be honest, this creature was indeed a terrible disaster in ancient times. Chumushin looked at the corpse. At least 100 fully armed guards are needed to deal with it. Not necessarily. Yu and as he walked in front of Beishen and poked his finger into the other's shell. This hardness, even bullets have difficulty penetrating it. According to his estimation, at least the bows and arrows of this era cannot pierce it. The poundage is too small, of course, except for the arrows shot by the god of inspiration. Chumashin nodded, and then his left hand extended a slightly blood-red bone blade, which continued to cut from the throat down. About half a meter away, a huge sack appeared, and some strange liquid with cold air remained inside. Is this the storage device? Chumashin reached out and took off the capsule. Let me see what the white mist is. He had not been able to see the mechanism of action of this cold air before, because he could not personally participate in the game. Now he can study it without any scruples. So that's how it is. When this liquid comes into contact with anything, it will quickly vaporize and lose a lot of heat, so the temperature naturally drops. After figuring out the mechanism of action of this thing, he continued to dig down. This is the storage part, not the secretion part. Just as Chumashin continued to study, Yu and as he suddenly felt itchy under his feet, so he looked down. As a result, he found an interesting thing. That is, a bunch of ants holding bows and arrows were shooting arrows at him crazily. Heh, you don't know what to do. Yu and as he threw a wave of flames casually. I didn't bother to take care of you, but you came to my door. After cleaning up these soldiers, Yu and as he cast his mental power into the depths of the cave, only to find that the inside was actually a huge ant nest. These things look really disgusting. Yu and as he, who was a bit claustrophobic, thought while stroking his chin, should we clean them up? After thinking for a while, he rejected his idea. Forget it, those civilians are innocent. Not long after, Izuki stood up with 4 strange organs in his hands. I have taken out everything I need. Then we should leave too. Yu and as he glanced at the time. It was already 6 o'clock in the afternoon, and it was time to go back to make dinner. Izuki nodded. Okay, wait for me to leave a message for Nobita, and then we will go back together. Not long after the two left, a new team of soldiers crawled out of the anthill and surrounded the white bug and began to carry the body of the white god back with force. After all, this is their patron saint. After dying in battle, at least it must be buried properly. No matter what, it cannot be left exposed in the wilderness. But at this moment, something like a tentacle suddenly fell from the sky, and it happened to fall on the body of the white god. This small tentacle seemed to be extremely lacking in nutrition. After falling on the body of the white god, it began to secrete a large amount of digestive fluid. The dug up body of Beishin had no resistance at all. The flesh and blood began to melt, turning into disgusting liquid that slowly melted into the tentacles. After absorbing the liquid, this tumor-like thing began to split wildly. In just a few minutes, it had become a big ball. After the ants carried Beishin back to the cave, they began to dig a hole, intending to let it return to the embrace of nature. This also gave it a chance to continue to develop. After half an hour, all of Beishin's flesh and blood had been digested, and this tumor finally appeared in front of these ants and uttered the first word in its life, food. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 789. Visit again. King Gaiu had already prepared dinner for everyone. After the two of them got home, they sat down at the dining table and started eating. However, after they had only taken a few bites, Dabe, who was guarding the door outside, suddenly barked non-stop. The three of them quickly put down their bowls and chopsticks and went out to check the situation. Who had come to visit at this time? After the three of them were ready for battle and walked out of the door, they were all stunned. Zhao Hang, why are you here? The person outside the door was Zhao Hang. He did not leave after the last separation, but continued to wander around this small town, looking for the road of no return. I have found it. Zhao Hang opened his mouth with a bombshell. The road of no return has appeared. Let's go quickly. Hearing this, Yu and as he looked embarrassed. It's troublesome. All my equipment is attracted by Nobita's props, and I can't take it out for the time being. My suit of armor is also temporarily lent to Nobita. Chumashin covered his forehead and sighed. Why did the enemy come so coincidentally this time? Hearing this, Zhao Hang stepped forward and asked, "What should we do? Are you going to give up? Do you know how many people it has killed so far? If I hadn't approached, the other party would have sensed my breath and fled from here. Otherwise I would never have come to find you." Chumashin looked at him calmly. "That's the problem. If he wasn't sure he could deal with you, then he wouldn't have appeared." It was obviously no secret that Zhao Hang had been staying here without leaving, but the road of no return dared to appear, which meant that it had become stronger than before. Suddenly, several Chumashin walked out and said at the same time, "You two stay here, we'll go this time." What's going on? Zhao Hang was shocked by what was happening now. Why did so many Chumashin suddenly appear? And most importantly, the breath of each Chumashin was extremely similar. It was obviously not a puppet, let alone a projection. At this moment, another more terrifying scene appeared. One of the little shirts opened his mouth, and the crack reached his abdomen directly. Then this Chumashin opened his mouth and swallowed the other Chumashin, and also swallowed all the clones that had just walked out. That's about it. The original Isaacuzan nodded slightly. His mental power is now comparable to mine in my prime. After that, the clone of Isaacuzan looked at Zhao Hang. "Tell me the location you just got. I'll go over and take a look now." Okay, it's on the nearby commercial street. After you go up the street, there is an alley that didn't exist before. That's the road of no return. The clone of Isaacuzan nodded at him and then looked at the original, as if asking for some kind of permission from the original Isaacuzan. Zyadishin threw a white blade to the clone, and then the blade melted in his hand and merged into the clone's mental power. Looking at this person who looks exactly like Zyadishin, Zhao Hang sweated like a spring. My god, he has become a monster, right? Calm down. I was almost the same as you when I first saw it. And as he patted his shoulder gently and told him to just look at it, then the figure of the clone of Isaacuzan disappeared in front of him. This is the ability of the chameleon, which can make its body transparent and hide its breath. All we have to do now is wait for news. Zyadishin pointed to the restaurant behind. "Would you like to come in for a quick meal?" Izuku's clone soon appeared next to the commercial street. As expected, there was an alley around the cake shop. Is that my destination? Izuku slowly approached. I wonder how this weirdness was formed. As he approached, the alley did not seem to be aware of the danger and remained in the same place with no sign of disappearing. People were coming and going around, and some people seemed to notice the anomaly here, but no one cared. They just took a look and left in a hurry. It doesn't look abnormal. The clone pursed his lips and said to himself, if I hadn't remembered the map, I might not have noticed it. He was not eager for quick success. Although he was a clone, no one would feel sorry for him even if he died, but he was self-aware after all. As an intelligent creature, who would be willing to take risks easily? If you die accidentally, you may not even have monument after death. Who would want to do that? At this moment, two little boys in short sleeves and holding dumplings seemed to notice this alley and were very interested in it. Hey, look here. I remember there was no road here before. When did they build an alley? The other boy also stopped and finished the dumpling in his hand. I don't know either. Anyway, I have nothing to do now. Let's go and have a look together. In a few words, the two of them walked towards this road of no return, showing the nature of children's love of exploration. But they can't be blamed. After all, the news of this matter was blocked, and generally no one would think that some roads can't be returned after walking. Why are these two people? D-Mushin slapped his forehead hard. If they die, I guess I won't be able to go back alive. He just wanted to divert the route of the two people, but then he thought, this seems to be an opportunity. If he went into the road of no return alone, the probability of being discovered would be very high, even if he was in stealth mode. But if there was someone in front to attract attention for him, then his actions would undoubtedly be much more concealed, which is the role of bait. As for the safety of Chuncheng and Aoshi, if he can't deal with it, then the main body probably won't know about it. Thinking of this, Dekisugi's clone no longer stopped the other party from entering the road of no return, but became invisible and liquefied, slowly climbing up behind them. This invisible substance formed a special piece of clothing, wrapping the two of them as a layer of insurance. Strange, why do I feel itchy? Chuncheng touched his waist. I always feel like something is crawling up. The sword servant, who has always been slow, did not feel anything unusual, but I don't feel it. It should be your psychological effect, maybe? Seeing that the sword servant was not abnormal, Chun-Cheng just thought that his abnormality was an illusion, and did not think much about it. The two stood in front of the alley, only to find that there seemed to be someone opening a store in this alley, and one of the stores was selling dumplings. The sword servant also found that there seemed to be a store selling his favorite salt grilled mackerel in it. Just standing outside, he could faintly smell the fragrance coming from inside. I didn't expect there was a snack street here. Dayoshi took the first step on his own initiative. How about we go in and take a look? With his growing curiosity and the help of Tuanzi, Dayoshi followed Chun-Cheng and walked into this alley that had never existed before. Chapter 790 Feeding the Young Master Meat. The moment they walked into the alley, the sunlight in the sky seemed to be a little dim, and there seemed to be a non-existent black fog floating around. The sword servant carefully pulled Chun-Cheng. Chun-Cheng, why do I feel that the environment here is a little strange? Is it? Chun-Cheng turned his head and looked around. There seemed to be nothing unusual, but there was always a cold feeling around him. It does seem a little strange, but it's not a big problem. How about we buy some food and try it and go back? After seeing the surrounding environment, Chun-Cheng shuddered involuntarily. His intuition told him not to stay here for too long. The two first walked to the place where dumplings were sold. The dumplings here seemed to taste very good, and even a strong milky aroma could be smelled. It smells so good. Chun-Cheng pointed to the 3 colored dumplings below. Please give me 1 dumpling of each flavor. Ha, you are the first customer on this street. The boss was a fat middle-aged man, but he was not greasy, but had a strange sense of intimacy. He handed the dumplings to Chun-Cheng. Here, since you are our first customer, we won't charge you. Then the boss put his face in front of Chun-Cheng and said with a smile, but you must eat all the dumplings here. No problem. Chun-Cheng picked up a dumpling without hesitation and prepared to put it in his mouth to see how it tasted. At this moment, Dayoshi suddenly stopped Chun-Cheng for some reason. Wait a minute, I'll go buy salt grilled mackerel and eat together later. To be honest, Dayoshi didn't know why he suddenly said such a thing. It seemed that he acted involuntarily just now, and Dekisugi, who was attached to him, breathed a sigh of relief. It was the psychological suggestion he used just now to transfer his thoughts to Dayoshi. The main thing is that the food here cannot be eaten casually. Maybe there is a curse in the food, and there are only 2 stores in this alley, and the things they sell happen to be your favorite food. Don't you think it's suspicious? Well, it's okay. Chun-Cheng put the dumplings back into the paper box and then walked with Dayoshi to the salt grilled mackerel stall. The shop owner behind him narrowed his eyes slightly, but said nothing, just picked up a fan and fanned himself. Not long after, the salt grilled mackerel stall owner gave them a portion of food for the same reason, and then the two of them focused their attention on them. Then let's get started. The two stared at the contents of the lunchbox and said to themselves, this looks delicious. Just as they were about to put the food into their mouths, Chun-Cheng suddenly felt an extremely severe pain in his waist. Ah, what is that? Chun-Cheng's hand trembled, and the dumpling flew out. My dumpling. I haven't eaten it yet. This shout scared the sword servant so much that his hand also trembled for some reason, and the packed mackerel fell to the ground. Looking at his masterpiece, Chumushin's clone sighed. I didn't expect these things to have mental attacks. No wonder ordinary people can't escape. But I haven't released my mental power. In this case, the owner here should not have discovered me yet. Now it seems that the other party can't help but want to attack. Chumushin was also ready for battle. Let me see your true face. The light around became darker, and the paint on the surface of the wall near the street began to fall off, as if it had experienced endless years. The two bosses put away the things in their hands and stared at the two children on the street. Sorry, we really didn't mean it. Chun-Cheng and Dayoshi apologized quickly. We were really scared just now, and we didn't mean to waste food. After saying that, Chun-Cheng also lifted up his clothes. He found that there was a bruise on his waist. Chumushin pinched him hard just now to make him wake up quickly so that he didn't eat the strange thing. The two bosses shook their heads at the same time. No, these are not important anymore. You must eat the food here today no matter what. What are you talking about? Chuncheng and Aoshi subconsciously leaned together. It seemed that this place was not too safe. The two bosses casually picked up the food on their counters and walked towards them with gloomy faces, intending to feed the young master meat. They found that the situation here seemed to be a little wrong. These two people might have something to save their lives, and the illusion could not directly subdue them. Hey, what are you doing? Don't come over again. If you come over again, we really have to call the police. After saying that, Chuncheng took out an alarm. As long as he pulled the zipper on it, the alarm would emit a very noisy siren. It's up to you. The two bosses did not stop their steps. Anyway, you are already here, and it is impossible to have any contact with the outside world. Hearing this, Chuncheng and Aoshi subconsciously looked towards the exit, but found desperately that there was no exit at all, except the blue brick ancient wall. The prosperous scene just now has completely disappeared, replaced by an ancient road that has existed for who knows how many years, and they are in the middle of this road. Since the moment they came in, this street has been completely closed, and the flow of people they saw is just an illusion. Okay, good boy, come and eat this thing. The two bosses have walked in front of them and stretched out their hands to pinch their necks. Then the food, that originally looked extremely delicious, suddenly changed and finally formed a group of twisting insects. Seeing this strange creature, they all felt nauseous. So the thing that was almost put into their mouths just now was actually this? No, I don't want to eat it. The two looked at each other and immediately ran away. You should keep it for the new year. TSK, don't you understand? You have no way to escape. The two bosses didn't care about what they did at all and just stood there waiting. Not long after, the two people who had not run far suddenly turned back and delivered themselves to them. Just now, the space here was distorted by a strange force, turning the direction they left to where the owner and others were. It's useless. This is our territory. They looked at the two children who threw themselves into their arms with a smile. You will never escape. The two bosses suddenly grew two more hands like 6-clawed fish and grabbed their wrists with these two newly grown hands. With the remaining two hands, one pinched the neck of a child and pressed them against the wall, and the insects on the other hand kept twisting. They planned to use brute force to feed these things into their mouths, making them a member of the road of no return. Chuncheng and Aoshi also closed their mouths, not to be outdone. Anyway, they would never open their mouths. The two bosses chuckled. TSK, just a trifle. As they said, they reached out and pinched their noses. The two sides were deadlocked for about a minute, and finally the two children couldn't help but open their mouths to breathe. At this moment, the boss stuffed the tentacles into their mouths. Chapter 791 Small World. Two big hands tightly covered their mouths to prevent the two from spitting out after eating until they saw obvious swallowing movements. After eating this ball of tentacles, their eyes rolled back and they lost consciousness and fell to the ground involuntarily. It's finally over. A boss gently stepped on Chuncheng on the ground. I wonder how long it will take for the soul seed to peel off their souls. Another boss also breathed a sigh of relief. How should I know? This is the first time I have done such a task. If the master hadn't said that there was something special about the souls of these two children, he would peel them off completely and eat them. Why would he waste so much time? After a while, a large number of tentacles suddenly extended from their bodies, slowly sending the souls of the two out of their bodies. Looking at this soul body that looked exactly like them, they took their souls away, as if they were pulling a balloon. Their bodies were ejected by the environment here, and soon appeared outside the street just now, but they had lost their ability to move. We have done a great job this time. I wonder what the master will give us last time. Another boss slapped him. Don't talk nonsense. Don't think about rewards when you do things for the master, otherwise we will be cleared out by him sooner or later. Hearing this, the thin boss was frightened and shut his mouth. It seemed that he knew how powerful the master was and never dared to mention such things again. Walking into the ancient alley, the environment became more and more spacious. There were also some residents in the soul state, working here with pale faces. Now the size of this place is comparable to a square. If they are given time to develop, I don't know what it will become. Walking to the deepest part of this small world, a white-haired man sat on the throne and had been waiting for a long time. "You are finally back." Seeing the two servants, he also became interested. "Why don't you quickly present their souls?" The two bowed their heads and respectfully placed the two stateless ghosts of Chuncheng and Aoshi in front of him, and then retreated respectfully. Seeing that they were quite sensible, the old man smiled. "Not bad. You can be a team leader after you go back. Thank you for the reward." The two of them smiled immediately. After becoming team leaders, they no longer had to work every day. The old man looked at their souls, as if he was looking at a rare treasure. "I didn't expect that the souls of these two people actually carried the power of time and space. They are really rare treasures." After saying that, the old man opened his mouth wide and swallowed the souls of the two people. After finishing, he licked his lips with satisfaction. At this moment, his face suddenly turned pale. "What's going on? Why was my world invaded by others?" He saw the alley with the help of the eyes of the world and shouted, "No, this is my kingdom of God." Yu and Dazuki, Chumashin and Zhaohang were walking on the street. Just now, they were located here through Chuncheng and Aoshi. At this time, the two children outside had been awakened by the clones left by Chumashin, and then they were taken to Chumashin's house and checked by the way. After all, they were just contaminated by unclean things, so it's better to check it thoroughly to be more assured, in case the root of the disease is left. But after walking a few steps, a large number of black tentacles suddenly extended from the surrounding walls, trying to pull out their souls and turn them into slaves. TSK, it's so boring. Yu and Dazuki directly pulled Zhaohang and Chumashin. "I have found him. Why don't we go to see him together?" The laws of the surrounding space were agitated, and the three of them appeared directly in the Emperor's room, face to face with him. "Oh, we are really destined to meet." Seeing this old acquaintance, he was a little powerless to complain. "Miyamoto Yoruchi, I didn't expect it to be you again." This person is the famous sword master, Miyamoto Yoruchi, who had died twice in their hands before. To be honest, if this world was not the world of Doraemon, he would have thought that this person was the son of the plane, and even the sun god could not destroy him. "I didn't expect it would be you again." Miyamoto Yoruchi stood up from the throne. "I'm different now than I was before." After saying that, the surrounding atmosphere quickly solidified, and the three felt that this small world seemed to reject their existence. "Don't worry, we won't fight you." Yu and Dazuki ignored him and scratched his ears. "Just say anything else you want to say. Anyway, you don't have much time." Seeing his appearance of asking for a beating, Miyamoto Yoruchi's beard stood up in anger. "Damn it, I'm going to let you know today." "Well, halfway through his words, he suddenly opened his mouth and spit out a black airflow, which seemed to condense into a tentacle. What he swallowed just now was not the souls of Chuncheng and Aoshi, but the spiritual power separated from Izuki-shan. The clone that was separated before was very smart. It intercepted the two soul seeds that were swallowed and analyzed the structure, and planted them in the body of this old man, waiting for this moment of explosion. Miyamoto Yoruchi's soul was constantly eroded, and the spiritual power he swallowed was no weaker than his original body, which was originally a disaster. In addition, he did not take any protective measures and let the power of the soul seed spread all over his body. He was already completely hopeless. "Okay, it's my turn next." After Zhaohang confirmed that the old man was hopeless, he picked up an ancient book. "It's just right for me to accumulate merits." The words in the book seemed to echo with some kind of noble singing. The wronged souls wandering nearby were purified of their resentment and slowly rose into the air and dissipated. Yu and Dazuki felt the rhythm in the world and remembered these laws in his head. Here is the entry method of the law of death. Mushin took advantage of this opportunity to swallow up Miyamoto Yoruchi and took over this small world and made it his own. This small world is only about the size of a small town, and there are loopholes in many places, but it does not hinder its value at all. After the three of them divided the benefits brought by this world, they returned to the real world again, and after saying goodbye, they completely separated. Zhaohang still had to go to other places to do justice, and Yu and Dazuki and Imushin also needed to digest their own insights. After returning, Chuncheng and Aoshi were sitting on the bed. Now they looked like they were drained of energy and had no spirit. Gian, and as he stepped forward and said, "Okay, close your eyes now. I'll check if there are any hidden dangers in your body." The two nodded and closed their eyes in cooperation. At this time, the Chumushin that had been attached to them also quietly detached. Not long after, and as he rubbed their hair vigorously and said, "It's okay, it's just that the soul is a little weak. Pay attention to rest recently." The gloomy wind that had been blowing in the dead land before was also blocked by Chumushin, so there would naturally be no big problem. "Okay, thank you." After the two thanked weakly, they quickly left here. Now they were really sleepy. After seeing them off, Chumushin said hello to Yuan and left here. He was going to control that world. Chapter 790 to their respective aspirations. The next morning, Dekisugi and Yuan Daisy came to Nobita's room, where Nobita was angrily writing his observation diary. Yuan and Daisy walked over and patted him on the shoulder. "Nobita, what happened to make you so angry?" "It's those two bastards Sunia and Fat Tiger." He got angry when he talked about this matter. Those two guys actually called to mock him. "This morning Sunia suddenly called me and said that they went to the luxury villa and also said that they would write their free research diary at the beach." Seeing him so angry, Yuan Daisy was very puzzled. "Then why are you angry? It's just the beach. It's not like you haven't been there before. It's different, okay? They said they can go anytime, but I probably won't have the chance to go by myself in this life. Woo woo woo." Doraemon next to him squinted his eyes. "Really, Nobita ignored me again at this time." At this time, Shizuka also walked into Nobita's room to greet everyone, and then saw Nobita lying on the table crying. "Nobita, what's wrong with you?" Shizuka covered her mouth, looking a little disgusted. "A boy crying, how embarrassing." Hearing this voice, Nobita quickly wiped his eyes. "Shizuka, you're here? Since everyone is here, let's go to the parallel world." TSK, you changed the subject quite quickly. And as he curled his lips, this kid would show off in front of his wife. Dekisugi agreed. "That's right. Now we should hurry up and leave. It's useless to stay here." Doraemon next to him had already knocked open the space blanket with his cane, and then took out the god cloud from his pocket. Taking this opportunity, and as he secretly took a look at Nobita's free research diary and found that he was drawing the white bug he encountered yesterday. However, considering Nobita's painting skills, the white god he drew looked like an earthworm with two heads, without any momentum. "Ah, what are you looking at here?" Nobita quickly went over and covered his notebook. "You are so shameless to peek at other people's things." And as he smiled, he had already obtained the happiness he wanted. He could be scolded by Nobita. Anyway, he would not lose a piece of meat. The group entered the space blanket again, and then they found that the earth seemed to have changed a lot. The continents had moved a little more than before. Many years had passed. It seems that the civilization of this world has basically taken shape. There are countries all over the world. Through the perspective of God, they can clearly see the iconic buildings of each country, which is almost the same as reality. Yes, but there seem to be more wars. Nobita looked at the flames of war that were constantly rising on the ground and shook his head with a little regret. Each country is constantly developing its own territory, so it will conflict with nearby countries. This is really not good news. Seeing this scene, Demushin sighed. This is very similar to the development of our world. Perhaps this is the only way for the development of the world. After everyone turned in the sky for a while, Nobita was ready to control the god cloud, to go to Japan, to see the descendants of that village. "Hey, going to Japan again?" Shizuka had another idea, "But I want to go to other countries, to see the scenery now." Doraemon also nodded in agreement. "Yes, I also want to travel around the world. It's too boring to always go to the same place. In that case, how about we separate?" After a moment of silence, and as he put forward his own suggestion. No one else objected. Since everyone wanted to go around, there was no need to tie everyone on a boat. But if we separate, how can we ensure our safety? If something happens, we can't support them. In response to Shizuka's worry, Dekishan handed the armor that Nobita had just returned to him to Shizuka. "You wear this thing, and nothing should be able to hurt you now." "Hey, give it to me. Then what about you?" Shizuka looked at the others. It seemed only she and Nobita needed protection. At this time, Nobita took out a pocket. "It's okay, I'll take the spare pocket by the way, you just need to take care of yourself." Seeing this, Shizuka didn't insist anymore and controlled the mecha to go to Athens, the legendary country of extreme freedom. After saying hello to the others, Dekisugi also left. He wanted to go to the Celestial Empire to have a look. At this time, the Celestial Empire should be in the Tang Dynasty, which he was most curious about. "Since you have a spare pocket, I'm relieved." Doraemon turned and left. "Remember, never lose your pocket." Nobita nodded, and then looked at Chiyu and Dazi next to him. "What about you? Don't you have any place you want to go?" "No, I also want to see the situation of the descendants of that village." Chiyu and Dazi was too lazy to go anywhere else. He wanted to see how the insects were developing. "Okay then." Nobita took out the time-lapse TV. "Let me see where the descendants of that village are." The scene of the time-lapse TV changed to thousands of years ago, and a light spot on the edge of the Japanese continent began to move slowly. "It seems that they have moved many times," Nobita said while adjusting the button of the TV. "Let me speed up their time." As Nobita's fingers jumped, the speed of the light spot migration also increased several times, and finally stopped in the center of the Japanese land. "Okay, I'll remember this location." Nobita put away the props. "It seems that we are still a little far away. It may take a few minutes." "No, it will only take a moment." Chiyu and Dazi put a hand on his shoulder, and then they appeared at the place marked on the map. This distance is easy for him to reach the destination even without the help of the Dark Star Cloak. After stopping in the sky, Chiyu and Dazi was suddenly stunned for a moment. Just now he seemed to feel something in the distance. This feeling was very familiar. It seemed to be his magic device, but the time was too short. He couldn't accurately locate where it was. However, he also found that as time went by, the connection between himself and the magic device began to deepen, indicating that their transformation was about to end. Therefore, Chiyu and Dazi was not in a hurry to find them, believing that as long as the time was right, they would appear in front of him. "It's amazing. Magic is so easy to use." Nobita looked at the scene below and exclaimed sincerely. Chiyu and Dazi opened his sensing technique and began to explore the situation nearby. "Of course, you don't even see how much effort I have put into practicing this." After that, he took Nobita to make a second jump and directly arrived above Magnificent Mansion. Below them was an old man who was constantly being pushed around. Chapter 793, Teaching the Naughty Child a Lesson. Chiyu and Dazi pointed at the old man who was pushed out of the door and said, "Look, this old man is your descendant in that village." "Oh, no way. How could my descendants live so miserably?" Dakshin curled his lips in dissatisfaction. It seemed that he would be a poor man again in this life. Before, seeing that he had at least joined the army, he thought that, even if his children would not be rich, they would not fall into such a state. Let's go down and see the situation." Dakshin took out a grey hat from his pocket and handed it to Chiyu and Dazi. "This thing is called a stone hat. As long as you wear this hat, you will be like a stone on the roadside and will not attract other people's attention. It seems to be quite convenient." Chiyu and Dazi took it and put it on his head, although he had never used it before. "But in my opinion, this thing just uses microwaves to affect other people's brains, and then they subconsciously ignore their existence. If I use soul magic, I can do the same. So, this thing has been useless to us for a long time." He talked for a long time, but Nobita just looked at the surrounding environment in confusion and didn't hear anything about him. "This thing is really effective." Chiyu and Dazi gently pinched Nobita's face. "How will he react if I do this?" Nobita was waiting for the old man to come out, but suddenly he felt a sharp pain on his face, as if someone had grabbed his face. Nobita, who was quick-witted, immediately shouted, "Dazi, I know it's you who did it. Don't make such a boring joke, okay? TSK, his mind is so fast at this time." Chiyu and Dazi curled his lips and stopped this boring prank. Not long after, the old man was driven out of the door by several servants, who looked at him fiercely. "Get out of here. The master has said he doesn't want to see you anymore. I really ask you, that's a life-saving herb." Nobita knelt directly in front of them, burying her head deeply in the ground. "Stop talking nonsense. The little money you have is useless to Lord Fumaru." Two servants stood guard at the door and prevented him from entering. There's nothing we can do about it. It hasn't rained this year. The herbs in the mountains are almost dried up. I can't get enough money at all." Seeing this scene, Nobita sighed helplessly. Here it comes again. Every time I'm the tragic character. Yu and Daisy shrugged. "If you are not tragic enough, how can Doraemon come here from the future to help you?" There is gain and loss. Just when they were about to say something, there was a sudden noise in the courtyard, as if someone was about to come out. "Lord Fumaru is coming out." The servant in blue clothes hurried over and pulled Nobita up. "Get out of the way, or your life will not be enough for you." At this time, if a commoner blocked the noble's carriage, it would not be a surprise, even if he was beheaded. More than 10 seconds later, a carriage slowly walked out of the door, and Fumaru was sitting in the carriage humming a little song contentedly. Nobita looked at the carriage and said to himself, "Fumaru, another noble family. Could this person be the descendant of Sunya?" At this moment, Nobita rushed forward, knelt on the ground and shouted, "Master Fumaru, please, really just a little bit. Why is it you again? Haven't you left yet?" The curtain of the carriage was lifted from the inside, revealing an extremely sharp mouth. "It's really him." Nobita was so angry that his teeth itched. "Damn Sunya, he is a rich man wherever he goes. The gap is too big, isn't it?" Yu and Daisy didn't care about this. Anyway, it was decided by the will of the universe, and you couldn't change it, no matter how angry you were. But he was more curious about where he was at this time. In what way would he appear in the end? "It's too annoying. Let him get out, and don't show up in front of me again." After saying that, Fumaru closed the door, and the carriage left without stopping. He has a lot of things to do recently. Why would he waste his precious time on such boring things? "Oh, what should I do now?" The old man leaned on his stick and walked towards the city gate. Now he could only go back. Nobita next to him took off his hat helplessly. "Oh, although he is not me, I always feel like it happened to me." And as he also took off his hat and handed it to Nobita, he stuffed both stone hats back into the treasure bag and prepared to follow him to see. "Hey, your pocket is so magical." A childish voice suddenly sounded in his ears. "Why don't you give it to me?" After saying that, the little hand had already taken the treasure bag from Nobita's hand. "I got a treasure today. My dad will definitely praise me." "Hey, this thing is mine. Give it back to me." Nobita immediately tried to reason with him. "This thing is the most precious thing of Doraemon." Then he was stunned again. This face. "And is he your descendant?" "No, don't talk nonsense. We don't have such an uneducated child." And as he immediately gave a set of 3 consecutive denials. He would not admit it. Then and as he pointed at the pocket and said, "Little boy, hurry up and give the thing in your hand back to this big brother. It's not yours." After saying that, he slightly released a little of his own momentum, letting the little boy understand how big the gap in strength between them was. TSK, damn it. The little boy knew that he was not strong enough, so he had to stuff the pocket into Dakshin's hand, and then pushed him hard. Although the child looked young, he was very strong. This push directly pushed Dakshin more than 3 meters away. "Boy, is this how you are domineering?" After saying that, and as he slapped him in the face, to teach him a lesson. Anyway, this child looked like King Gyu, with thick skin and flesh, and he controlled the strength well, so he would never hurt him. "How can you do this to the general's son?" A person behind him rushed up to reason with him. "Don't you know how tired the general is? Pa." In response to him, he was slapped again mercilessly, and the huge force directly slapped him aside. "You're done. The general will definitely." "Pa. I'm telling you, you don't know. Pa." The last 2 guards drew their knives together. "It seems you won't talk to us properly." And as he mercilessly slapped them in the face with his left and right hands at the same time. "Daisy, this time." "Pa." "Oops, it seems like an accidental injury." And as he looked at Nobita, who was knocked over by him, and suddenly felt a little sorry. Then he quickly carried Nobita. "Forget it. It's more important to run away now." Chapter 794, Monster Rumors. Soon, and as he and Nobita, who had put on their stone hats again, stood on the street and breathed a sigh of relief. "Really, how could you hit me so hard?" Nobita complained, covering his swollen face. "Look at what you have done to me." Sorry, I use the standard that adults in this world would not suffer internal injuries, but it is obvious that you are not so weak. Gian and Azzy took the lead and walked in one direction. It is more important to find Nobina now, so don't complain beside us. I know. Oh, by the way, why can I hear your voice? Nobita only realized this extremely critical problem at this time. Now that both of them have put on their stone hats again, it is not surprising that Yu and Azzy can hear his voice. Anyway, he has always been immune to many props. But according to common sense, he should not be able to hear the other person's voice. And now he can't see Yu and Azzy. Because I don't communicate with you by words. Yu and Azzy took Nobita's hand. Now we are communicating on the spiritual level. Hearing Yu and Azzy say something he didn't understand again, Nobita had to give up thinking and continued to follow him. This feeling is just like Doraemon explaining props to him. He doesn't need to know the principle, he just needs to know how to use them. Soon, they arrived at the city gate. Nobita was sitting at the gate, sighing constantly. How pitiful. Nobita couldn't help but sigh with him. That guy Sunia is really something. Can't he bear to give him some herbs? No, actually, there's nothing wrong with Fumaru doing this. After all, Nobina can't afford the herbs now. Yu and Az's voice was a little low. When I came here just now, I found that there were many wounded people in the city. Almost all of them were waiting for Fumaru to save their lives. If he sets a precedent of giving alms, then everyone will come to him for herbs in the future. What do you think he should do? Nobita said without hesitation. Then give them. Anyway, they are just some grass and are not worth much. In his impression, these herbs are weeds that can be seen everywhere on the roadside, and he doesn't know how to charge such a high price for them. Stupid, these things are not grass at this time, but the lives of those people, you know. If there were no herbs in ancient times, many more people would die. Shouldn't we give them life-saving treatment? This way, many more people can be saved. Nobita still looked as if it was a matter of course. Forget it, I can't explain it to you clearly. Yu and Azzy was choked with anger. He really didn't know how to explain the problem to him. Nobita wiped his nose happily, smiled at the air and said, "TSK, you see. I said I was right. This guy definitely hasn't experienced the baptism of the gratitude machine yet." Yu and Azzy looked at Nobita, ready to let him starve for a few days, so that he would know how valuable things that can be seen everywhere are sometimes. And according to the discussions of the people in the city, Fumaru did not take advantage of the crisis to raise the price, which is already a good doctor. But what makes me more curious is why there are so many wounded here. Yu and Azzy was very concerned about this. If it goes as expected, there should be an external factor. We can try to find it out. Anyway, saving people can also increase merits for oneself, and such good things are generally not rejected by practitioners. Unknowingly, it was already approaching dusk, and Nobina still had no intention of leaving. She still leaned against the city gate and closed her eyes to rest. At this time, a passerby walked by. Seeing that he was an old man lying here, he felt pitiful and went over to check the situation. "Old man, wake up." The young man gently pushed Nobina. "Are you feeling uncomfortable?" Seeing that there was another person next to him, Nobina stood up quickly. "Nothing, I just want to rest here for a night. Because my home is far away from here, and I have to cross the mountain. If I go back now, I won't be able to get there, even if it gets dark." Hearing this, the young man quickly reminded, "Old man, in this case, you should find a way to live in the city. You don't know, monsters will appear around here every night, and many people in the city have died recently." After saying this, he lifted up his trouser legs to reveal the gauze inside. "Do you see the wound on my leg? This is caused by the monster. It just touched me, and the skin on my leg is gone. Let's find a safer place to spend the night." After saying this, the young man hurriedly left here. Now he still has to go home quickly. After all, his wife and children are still waiting for him. After hearing what he said, Nobina was also a little scared. If he really stayed here, he might really encounter a monster. He quickly picked up his purse. "Let me see how much money is left. Can I stay here for one night?" But after searching his pockets, he found that he didn't have enough money to pay for the hotel, and he could only barely have enough for dinner. Seeing this, he could only take his wallet back. Forget it, I'd better go back. At least I can't wait to die here. He's leaving, let's follow him. And as he interrupted Nobita's narcissistic behavior and quickly followed Nobita. After entering the forest, Nobita waved to the god cloud to come over, and then he rode on the cloud and followed them leisurely. And as he also took advantage of Nobita's inability to see him and quietly got on the cloud. He was too lazy to follow others all the time. The sun in the sky quickly set, and night fell. The coldness enveloped the forest. Nobita and Nobita shivered involuntarily. It's really cold at night. Nobita quickly took out the air conditioning ball and placed it next to him to prevent himself from catching a cold. At this moment, and as his mouth corners suddenly lifted up. Boy, you are still a little too young. After saying that, the temperature within the air conditioning ball also began to drop rapidly, even lower than the surrounding environment. Seeing Nobita shivering in front of him, his mood finally improved a little. Humph, your ancestors suffered, how can you, a junior, enjoy it alone? Don't worry, I will accompany you to suffer any sin. And as he sat next to him, looking righteous. At this moment, strange sounds rang around, rustling, as if something was crawling on the ground. What is this? And as he was worried that his soul would be injured, so he didn't release his mental power and was fully alert. It seems a little dangerous. Chapter 795 Appearance. Listening to the approaching sounds around him, Nobita couldn't help but speed up his pace, hoping to get out of the hunting range of this thing. And as he gently pushed Nobita on the cloud. Go help him, otherwise he might get into trouble later. Nobita nodded, took out the anywhere door from his spare pocket, and placed it in front of Nobita while he was looking around. In this way, Nobita had successfully crossed the distance of a mountain without knowing it, and returned safely to the vicinity of his house. The monsters behind him obviously didn't notice the two people who were obstructing him. They only saw Nobita about to disappear from their sight. It didn't want to give up the rations that were about to be in hand, so it stretched out a tentacle, intending to forcibly pull him closer to its plate. A gust of cold wind blew, and the temperature around it quietly dropped to a terrible level. A thick layer of frost hung on the trees and grass leaves. The monster stretched out its tentacles, which were also frozen in the air by the cold wind, and turned into debris flying around. And as he frowned slightly, no, the attack just now didn't seem to kill it, but only broke up the part that extended from it. He could clearly feel that there was a strange creature wandering nearby and was trying to hunt the two humans. But the good news was that this thing seemed unable to lock onto them through the stone cap, but just correctly sensed their existence. A staff full of mechanical sense appeared in and Az's hand. What a strange thing, such a tenacious vitality. After waiting for a while, and as he suddenly said, Nobita, you go to the other side of the portal first. I will stay here to meet him. It seems that this thing is a master who will not release the eagle without seeing the rabbit. He will not bite the hook without a good enough bait. Nobita nodded and flew directly into the portal in the god cloud. He knew that and as he had his own way to catch up. Seeing that the portal had disappeared, and as he took off the stone cap in the air, and his body completely appeared in the monster's sight. It took less than a second for him to appear, and two tentacles suddenly extended from his feet and grabbed his feet. Really fast reaction speed. He waved his staff and released two wind blades. Is it a fighting instinct, or has it already noticed my position? The wind blades easily cut off the tentacles, but his feet felt a slight sting, as if they were being corroded by something. And as he hurriedly checked the condition of his feet, and only then did he find that there was a layer of green mucus on the skin that had just been entangled. Because he had not worn long pants for many years, the mucus easily adhered to his skin, which was somewhat like the digestive fluid secreted by the human stomach. TSK, I finally know why the skin on that person's leg disappeared after being rubbed. It turned out to be this thing. The surrounding cold air surrounded him again, freezing the mucus into pieces. Unfortunately, this low level trick is useless to me. As if it had realized that the strength of this prey was extraordinary, the monster finally took countermeasures and its body slowly emerged from the ground. Its body seemed to have no skin, and its oval body surface was covered with a large amount of mucus and exposed eyeballs, which made people nauseous at first sight. What surprised Yu and Daisy was that when the mucus on his body touched the frozen land, it was not frozen. Instead, the mucus dissolved the land, as if it were nutrients and constantly absorbed into the body. TSK, it's even more disgusting to see it this way. Yu and Daisy looked at the monster that kept eating the soil, and suddenly he felt familiar. I seem to have seen this scene somewhere. The monster did not give him time to think, and opened his mouth to spray a dark green mucus arrow straight at his face. The speed of this mucus was even as fast as ordinary firearms in their era, and ordinary humans could not avoid it at all. Then the surrounding tentacles quickly closed, blocking all his escape routes, intending to kill Yu and Daisy here with one blow. Who knew that Yu and Daisy did not dodge or evade, and let the mucus and tentacles fall on him, as if he wanted to die generously. When the mucus covered Yu and Daisy's whole body, the tentacles also wrapped him up to form a ball, and it intended to digest the child directly. At this moment, a pale blue shadow suddenly appeared in the sky, gathering into the shape of a Western ancient dragon, and opened its mouth to the monster below. Ice magic, ice breath. As the voice fell, the ice storm covered the forest. Yu and Daisy's whole body shook with power, and the monster's attack was directly broken into pieces. Then he rushed directly to the monster's body. You can't run away now. He inserted the staff into the monster's body. Magic, life deprivation. The energy lines on the staff kept lighting up, and its frozen vitality was constantly stripped away, turning into the purest life energy, and flowing into the staff. This part of the energy will be stored, and when he returns, he can give it to Kingayu to take. This thing is exactly what he lacks. Okay, it's finally solved. Yu and Daisy breathed a sigh of relief. Things with tenacious vitality like this are the most annoying. If you don't pay attention and let this thing escape, maybe it will recover to its peak by eating in a few days. Then he took another slate, removed some of the frozen tissue fragments, and used dimensionality reduction to preserve them. Take this thing back to Junfei to see. As he spoke, a layer of flame appeared beside him. Don't take the rest. After confirming that there was no tissue or mucus left here, Yu and Daisy activated the law of space and came to Dakshin. How is the situation on your side? Yu and Daisy looked at Dakshin on the god cloud. Did the old man find anything unusual? Dakshin shook his head. No, he was too scared to pay attention to the environment just now, so he didn't find anything. It's just that he is thinking about how to face his wife now, so he doesn't dare to come in. How is your side? Have you solved the monster? Well, confirm that the other party is completely dead. Yu and Daisy took out the stone hat from his pocket and put it on to avoid being discovered by the old man. But he still didn't understand why such a monster appeared here. Even if it deviated from the original, this shouldn't happen, right? At this moment, a strange noise suddenly appeared in the haystack nearby, and the nerves of the three people present were tense. Yu and Daisy once again tightened his grip on the staff. Could it be that there were monsters here too? Thinking of this, his mental power had already spread out, intending to see if there was any danger over there. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 796 Bugs. The detection technique scanned the surroundings and found a small bug lying in the grass not far away. Yu and Daisy was relieved. Nobita looked at the grass in the distance nervously. Yu, are there still monsters here? How about going to help them? No, that's not a monster. Yu and Daisy and Nobita sat on the god cloud together, watching Nobina approaching each other. Not long after, Nobina stood next to the cluster of manipulation, carefully pulled open the leaves, and a small bug was lying inside. What is this? A small animal. Nobina picked up the little beetle. I've never seen this kind of bug. Seeing this scene, Nobita opened his eyes wide. Strange. Why don't I remember there are such creatures in the world I created? TSK, you talk as if you can recognize all the animals here. Yu and Daisy silently complained about Nobita's reaction from behind. Hey, you seem to be injured. Nobina suddenly noticed its forelimb. There seems to be some green mucus on it. Hearing this, Yu and Daisy immediately took out his staff. He must not let ordinary people touch that kind of digestive fluid directly. Even his physique can feel slight digestive symptoms. If Nobina touches it, he can just go for amputation. The little bug's reaction was even faster than him. He quickly stretched out her intact forelimb to block Nobina's outstretched hand. Can't touch it? Nobina retracted his hand. It just so happens that I still have some water here. I can wash things off. He took out a small water bag from his back, poured out the water inside, and poured it on the wound of the beetle. He came back much earlier than expected today. Even if the water was wasted, he would not feel heartbroken, because it was no longer needed. You are smart. And as he stretched out his hand to change the temperature of the water droplets below, but at the same time, you must also pay attention to the aftermath. The mucus diluted by water still corroded the plants after falling on the flowers and plants, which shows how strong the digestive power of this mucus is. With the help of Yu and Daisuke, these water droplets condensed into ice silently and no longer affected the surrounding environment. After Nobina washed the mucus on its forelimbs, she put away the kettle. Okay, you are fine now. But it seems that your injury is very serious. Why don't you stay at my house for 2 days and recuperate well? Nobina held it in her arms and continued to walk home. And as he gently patted Nobita on the shoulder, it seems that your simple character is passed down from your ancestors. Isn't this a good thing? Nobita rubbed his shoulders with some dissatisfaction. The 2 slaps just now almost dislocated him. Maybe. And as he smiled at the front, it was because of his character that he could meet Doraemon. Otherwise, if someone else had Doraemon's pocket, he would have started thinking about how to be a king long ago. Would he be as simple as him? However, this should also be one of the reasons why Doraemon was allowed to come in the future, because they are sure that Nobita will not have these ideas. Okay, let's not talk about this anymore. Nobita controlled the god cloud and followed Nobina. Let's go see Nobina's home. He was also very curious about Nobina's current family situation. He hoped that his wife would not look like Fat Tiger's sister. This was not a good sign. After walking for a few minutes, they saw a dilapidated house swaying in the mountains. The leaking thatched roof and broken walls showed the poverty of the owner. Nobita was even more dissatisfied. Really, even if I knew it would be poor, it's still too far from what I expected, right? He originally thought that living in poverty would be fine. At least the place he lived, it would not be leaky. Now it seems that he thought too much. What are you thinking about? This is how poor people were treated in ancient times. If the place they lived in was not drafty, they basically could not be considered poor. At this moment, Nobina suddenly stopped and said to himself, oh, I almost forgot that my wife hates these little animals the most. She was already very angry because I didn't buy what she wanted today. If I bring you along, I might not even be able to get in the door today. Nobina said as he walked towards the utility room. I'm sorry, I can only put you here for now. He carefully placed the little beetle in his arms on the pile of grass in the utility room and put his forelimbs on the top to avoid being touched by the debris. Then he picked up some straw and put it on the beetle. Okay, you shouldn't feel cold this way. Then you can rest here first. Alas, seeing you now, I seem to see the son who has left home to work. In the past, when he did something wrong, he would hide here, thinking that we couldn't find him. In fact, we all know. Haha. The old man smiled and stood up. Then I will call you by my son's name, Achan, and you have a good rest tonight. As for food, I will definitely be scolded badly later. It seems that I can only find some food for you tomorrow. The old man walked out of the utility room while muttering, and he was not worried that his wife would suddenly come in and find this poor little thing. Since their son left, this place has hardly been opened again, and there is nothing to put in it on weekdays. Achan looked at the old man's back as he walked away. Although he didn't know what he was saying, he could hear that the old man cared about him very much. Nobita heard everything outside and said with some dissatisfaction, it seems that this Nobina should be very afraid of his wife. Gian, do you have any way to help him? Nobita looked at Yu and Daisuke next to him. He knew that this man must have a way. He had resisted Doraemon's props brainwashing before, and he could also manipulate memories and change people's thinking. Okay, looking at his experience and situation today, it's also pitiful. And as he released his mental power to find his wife, soon, he found the old lady who looked like she was also in her 60s in the room, but her expression was very indignant. She was seen cooking while whispering, "Why hasn't that dead ghost come back yet? Could it be that he didn't buy anything and planned to spend the night outside?" Seeing this, and as he smiled and said, "This couple is really a couple. They know Nobina's thoughts very well." After saying that, his mental power fell into the other's soul and began to soothe the old man's surging emotions. It was at this moment that Nobina prepared to be scolded and reluctantly opened the door. "Honey, I'm sorry I didn't buy what you wanted." Chapter 797 Treatment. The expected scolding did not come. The old woman just looked at him calmly. "I'm glad you're back. Come and eat quickly." "Oh, okay." Seeing that his wife did not lose her temper, he hurried to the dining table and picked up the bowl and chopsticks to eat. "Come back earlier in the evening, okay?" The old woman walked to the table with a bowl of green vegetables and sat down. "Recently, there have been rumors of man-eating monsters in the mountains." Nobina nodded vigorously and quickly told her old partner that she would definitely go home earlier in the future. "What a harmonious relationship," Nobita said in a light tone. "Then let's go and see that little bug next." As soon as the voice fell, the two appeared in the grocery room, and the dust around them flew everywhere because of their arrival. The little bug who was resting was also scared when he saw the two people suddenly appear and hurriedly sat up and was ready to run away at any time. "You know, the insect race is not welcome here among the human race. After all, being mistaken for a man-eating monster will naturally make people feel unhappy." And as he walked over and communicated with him mentally, "Don't be afraid, we won't hurt you. Can you show me your wound?" Archon didn't answer in a hurry, but looked at and as he with a pair of bright eyes, as if considering whether to agree to his conditions. In the animal world, showing wounds to others is an act of extreme trust. Obviously, these people did not meet this standard. In the end, Archon chose to trust Yuandazki and put his forelimbs on his hands. The muscles of this arm are almost all corroded. And as he looked at the exposed bones inside and thought, fortunately, the bones are not injured, otherwise it would be a big trouble. Then he looked at Nobita behind him. His body is very weak, and he may not be able to withstand my magic treatment. You should use the props. The body of this insect is as fragile as their human infants and young children. Exposure to too strong magic will make his injuries worse. No problem. I remember there should be a universal medicine box in the props. Nobita reached into the treasure bag while speaking. And as he looked back at Achen's wound again. After these insects evolved, they actually had some human characteristics. The original body structure of insects should only have an outer shell, which also protects the body and bones. However, the change in body shape after evolution forced them to grow new bones in their bodies to support the normal operation of the body. Found it. It's this prop, the universal medicine box. Dakshin took out a prop that looked like a doctor's briefcase from his pocket. He walked to Achin and opened the medicine box. This thing can automatically take measures according to the opponent's state. A light green light shot out from the sphere on the top of the box, and all of Achin's current physical data was included in the briefcase. Not long after, the briefcase gave treatment advice. The forelimb suffered severe corrosive damage, but there was no other abnormality in the body. Recommended medication. First neutralize the remaining acid with weak alkaline solution, and at the same time, supplement a large amount of nutrients and antibiotics to avoid infection. After that, a bottle of colorless liquid and a rice ball with antibiotics and nutrients popped out of the medicine box. I know. Dakshin unscrewed the glass bottle and put the bottle mouth to Achin's mouth. Open your mouth and drink the medicine and you will be fine. Stupid. And as he snatched the medicine bottle with a look of disappointment, pointed at the big words on it and said, "It clearly says external medicine on it. Why did you give it to him?" After seeing the label clearly, Dakshin touched his head a little embarrassedly. "Sorry, I didn't pay attention for a moment." And as he pushed him aside, "I'll clean his wound. You go and feed him first, okay?" Dakshin nodded vigorously. He had no problem with this little thing. And as he picked up the medicine bottle and pointed the bottle mouth at the wound on Achin's forelimb. At the same time, he also used the spell Soul Interference that he had been using for a long time, which temporarily made it lose its pain. Seeing that his arm was no longer painful, Achan boldly took the food in Action's hand and put it to his mouth and ate it. Soon, Yu and as he wrapped the gauze from the medical kit around Chun's arm and finally completed the emergency treatment. After confirming that the other party was fine, Nobita picked up the medical kit. "We will leave first. You should have a good rest by yourself." Chun nodded vigorously, and then Yu and Dazi and Kononobuayoshi disappeared in the room, making it think that it was a dream. Yu and Dazi and Nobita appeared on the god cloud outside the house. "Okay, Nobita, what are you going to do now? Wait here? Forget it. I'd better adjust the time to tomorrow," Nobita said while pressing the button on the cane. At this moment, the time of the 5-member team was adjusted to tomorrow noon, and this change caught the other 3 off guard. "Really? Why did the time jump suddenly?" The others were a little dissatisfied. "Next time, I have to tell Nobita. This kind of thing needs to be notified." But Nobita was unaware of the complaints of others and only focused on watching the situation of Nobina below. "Why are you here again?" The tall and strong foreman drove Nobina away impatiently. "No, these grains are not for a leaf. This scene is so familiar, and this time it's Fat Tiger." Nobita looked at the situation below and complained very dissatisfiedly. "Below is the city's grain warehouse, and the official in charge of grain has the same face as Fat Tiger." Nobina knelt beside the foreman, with tears in the corners of her eyes. "Please, just a little bit will do. Corn and other grains will do." Seeing that the foreman in front of her was unmoved, Nobina had to go over and hug his thighs. "Please, as long as I can survive this winter, I will definitely pay you back next year. You still have the face to talk so much nonsense." Fat Tiger pushed Nobina away. "Don't you understand? You already owe me a lot of debt." Speaking of this, Nobina could only lower his head. He did borrow a lot of grain from the foreman. The whole city is under martial law and preparing for war. There is no extra food in the warehouse, and I don't have any here either. Go back quickly. Hearing this, Nobina knew that this was indeed not feasible. He could only slowly get up and start thinking about how to face his wife after returning home today. Now the family can't even afford to eat. If he doesn't bring food back today, their family will have to starve. Seeing this, Nobita stood up and said, "This won't do. What if my ancestors starve to death here? I have to think of a way." Nobita drove the god cloud around to the only way Nobina could take to go home, intending to help him survive the winter. Chapter 798 Help. The two of them came to the intersection of the mountain. Nobita looked around and found a tree of suitable height. "Let's take this tree." Nobita reached out and began to take out the spare props. "At this time, we need to use our old friend, the plant modification agent." After that, he took out a box and began to look for the types of food that are more suitable for this era. If the appearance of the food is too strange for this era, then they will not dare to eat it because of fear, which is contrary to his original intention. "I think this is good." Kononobuayoshi reached out and took out a reagent. "They should like it very much, right?" Nobita looked at the modification agent in Yu and Daz's hand. It said salmon fried rice. This thing is really good. And fried rice is easy for them to accept. In addition, it is all staple food, and it is not easy to get hungry after eating it than other foods. Then this one. Nobita happily inserted the injection into the tree. "Thank you very much for your advice. Otherwise I would have to choose for a long time." The ends of the branches and leaves of the plants injected with the modification agent began to change, and after the flowers fell, the peach-like fruits began to grow rapidly. A few minutes later, 6 complete salmon fried rice fruits were hanging on the tree. All they had to do was wait for Nobina. But Nobita was still a little worried. "When Nobina comes over, how can we draw his attention to the fruit on this tree? Isn't that easy?" Yu and Dazi made a crack on the fruit with a knife, and the aroma of food began to spread around. Under the effect of his magic, the breeze carried the aroma of food to Nobina's location. "Wow, this fried rice smells so good." Nobita sniffed and began to drool. "I want to eat a fruit too." Yu and Dazi calculated the time. It had been 4 or 5 hours since they entered here, and it was almost time to eat. "Okay, Nobina is coming." He grabbed Nobita and flew into the sky. "Wait until he leaves and then use the plant modification agent." The two landed on the god cloud, and in tacit understanding, they took out stone hats from their pockets and put them on their heads, quietly observing the situation below. A few minutes later, the hungry Nobina appeared in their sight and seemed to be in a very low mood. Oh, what should I do? I didn't buy any food today. Nobina didn't want to go back. I'm sure my wife will scold me when I go back, right? Yesterday he just didn't get the herbs, so it's understandable that his wife wasn't angry, but what he didn't get today was food. And even if his wife didn't scold him, their ice jar was almost empty, and sooner or later they would starve to death in this deep forest. Every time at this time, he would miss his son who had gone out to work, and wondered how Chun was doing now. Speaking of Chun, he thought of the injured child in his warehouse who needed to be fed, and suddenly felt that the burden on his shoulders was heavier. As he walked, he suddenly smelled a strange fragrance, which was incomparable to the best food he had ever seen in his life. What smells so good? And it's in this deep forest. Is it my illusion? Thinking of this, Nobina suddenly felt that it made more sense. Yes, there are no houses nearby. How can there be the aroma of food? Although he was very stubborn, his footsteps had already begun to unconsciously approach the place where the fragrance came from, intending to find out. Not long after, he saw the strange fruit tree with a strange shape and peach-like fruits. The aroma of food he smelt came from a broken fruit on the fruit tree. Golden rice could be seen from the crack. Oh my god, is it that the Buddha has pity on my family and can't bear us to starve to death? So he gave me these foods. Nobina knelt down in front of the fruit tree and said devoutly, Lord Buddha, I will remember your kindness all my life. It's God. Nobita corrected his mistake very dissatisfiedly. The only god in this world is their god. And as he patted his shoulder gently, there is no way. What the Buddha did in the story seems to be much better than God. TSK, you really don't know what's good. Nobita tilted his head to one side angrily, not wanting to see the man who believed in gods below. After picking 4 fruits, the old man stopped moving, because he thought that the remaining 2 fruits should be left to people who also needed them. If someone was really as hungry as he was, maybe the 2 fruits left here could save their lives. After picking, Nobina put the 4 fruits on the ground and worshipped them seriously. Thank you very much, Lord Buddha. It's God. Nobita was even more dissatisfied. He wanted to see what kind of god the Buddha was that Nobina mentioned. After Nobina left, Nobita and Dazi came to the place where the fruit tree was, and Dazi was ready to destroy it completely. After all, it was not a product of this era. If it was left here, it might have some bad effects, which was not what they wanted to see. Don't rush to cut it down. Nobita stopped him with his hand. Do you have any way to make this fruit tree produce fruit again? Yes, there is. But why are you asking me this? Dazi was a little puzzled. Aren't the 2 remaining fruits enough to eat? It's like this. I want this fruit tree to survive for a while to ensure that their family can survive the winter smoothly. You are a very kind person. Don't forget that Nobina called the Buddha so devoutly just now. Aren't you angry? Nobita shook his head. This is not the same thing. I won't let others die just because they don't believe in me. And as he looked at Nobita deeply, then put his hand on the tree, and a green vitality was injected into the transformed fruit tree. Although he knew that Nobina's family would soon become rich, he couldn't bear to directly reject Nobita's words. After a while, Dazi released his hand. Okay, now this tree will produce 3 to 4 fruits every day, and I have stimulated the life potential of the fruit tree. After 2 months, this fruit tree will gradually lose its vitality and then naturally wither and die. Thank you very much for your help. Nobita nodded vigorously. In this way, he would not have to worry about Nobina starving because of lack of food. Then Dazi threw a fruit from a fruit tree into Nobita's hand. Eat quickly, and then go check on them. Yes. Nobita took the food and sat on the ground with Dazi. Well, let's start. Chapter 799 Looking for Someone. After eating and drinking, Nobita turned the time to 2 days later. At this time, Nobina was on her way home. Strange, why is he running so fast? Nobita followed Nobina and said to himself, it looks like he is late for a date. Oh, you really have a wonderful metaphor. And as he rolled his eyes, who did Nobita learn this metaphor from? Not long after, Nobina returned home, but the first place he went to was still the small warehouse where Chun was kept. Chun, I'm back. He quickly put down the herbal bag and walked into the warehouse. Although it's a little later than the agreed time, please forgive me. Who knew that after opening the door, he didn't see Chun's innocent eyes, but an old woman who looked 70% similar to the witch before. This old woman just stood there without saying anything, and everyone present felt that the aura was a little dignified, as if a storm was about to hit. Nobita couldn't help but cover his eyes with his hands. This aura is exactly the same as my mother's when she's about to get angry. Is this the legendary domineering aura? Yu and Dazi also took a step back and made an exaggerated expression. You guy, you actually secretly raised that disgusting thing behind my back. Don't you know that I'm most afraid of bugs? Hearing this, Yu and Dazi subconsciously covered his nose. Damn, how long has this old woman not brushed her teeth? She has such a big mouth. Sorry, my dear, I just saw that it was too pitiful to be injured, and I thought of our son, so I did that. At this point, Nobina suddenly thought of something. Old woman, you didn't hit Achin away, did you? His injury hasn't healed yet. I didn't hit it. When I saw it, it had already flown away by itself. Otherwise I wouldn't know you hid bugs here. The old woman scolded him here, and Yu and Dazi and Nobita listened beside him and expressed sympathy for his experience. Really, I really want him to live a happier life. Nobita said as he turned the button on his cane to skip this meaningless part. It was getting late now, and there was probably no other program today except watching Nobina being scolded. A few days later, Nobina was looking for Achin, whom he regarded as a treasure, and Yu and Daisy and Nobita were watching him in the sky. No way, he just kept looking for it for several days. Yu and Daisy looked at Nobina, who kept moving below, feeling a little puzzled. Isn't it just a bug that I saw once? Why is it worth spending so much effort to find him? It didn't do anything. Nobita stared at Nobina below. Didn't you hear? The old man has already treated him as his own child. If you disappear, your parents will definitely be very anxious. As he was talking, Nobita suddenly remembered that Yu and Daisy was now an orphan. He secretly glanced at Yu and Daisy's face. He thought he would be furious, but he found that he seemed to be a little sad. Yes, although he still had no expression on his face, Nobita did not feel any emotion from him. Ahem, Yu and classmate, are you okay? Nobita touched his head and apologized to him seriously. Sorry, I said something that made you unhappy. Nothing. Yu and Dazi shook his head. He did think of his parents just now, but they were from the old world. But now he has gotten used to it, and no matter what others say about him, it won't change anything. Seeing that he was not angry, Nobita continued, sometimes I feel that you are too cold to the outside world. If I have to describe it, although you didn't have much expression when I knew you before, you gave me the feeling that you were a person. Then Nobita looked into Yu and Dazi's eyes and said seriously, but now you make me feel more like a machine. Yu and Dazi did not speak and continued to look at the situation below by himself. I don't know what he was thinking. At this time, Nobina below suddenly saw a little girl in a pink kimono looking at Nobina with wide eyes in front of her. Nobina, who was already very anxious, ran over and asked, hey, little friend, have you seen Ajin? Then he gestured in the air with his hands. It's a child who is about the same height as you, with a pair of very beautiful eyes. The little girl with a pointed mouth and big eyes stood there, suddenly stretched out her hand to pull down her eyelids and made a face at him, then turned and ran towards the top of the mountain. Nobina saw that she was about to run away, so he had to chase her. Don't go. Tell me if you have seen Ajin, can you? Hey, what do you want to do? Several men dressed as retainers suddenly appeared next to them and blocked them. This is the daughter of the first Dr. Fumero. How can a lowly person like you get close to her? One of the retainers stepped forward and approached Nobina. If you understand, then get down the mountain quickly. Yes, yes. Nobina bowed to them repeatedly and then slowly walked to the other side of the mountain, ready to go there to look for his Ajin. Anyway, the tree will produce a certain amount of fruit every day, so he doesn't need to worry about food for the time being, and he has plenty of time to use it. It must be nearby. Nobina comforted herself as she walked. He was injured here, so he shouldn't be able to run far. Seeing this scene, Nobita curled his lips again. How cowardly. You are so respectful to those people. Really? I don't think you have much courage when facing Fat Tiger. Yawned as he pushed his shoulder and ruthlessly criticized him. Forget it, let's not talk about this. Nobita put his hand in his pocket. Seeing that he is causing so much trouble, I'd better find a way to help him. Yawned as he also had this idea. Seeing a white-haired old man running around all day, he felt a little bit sorry. I'll do it this time. He stretched out his hand, and a very real puppy appeared in his hand. Detection branch. Finding elf. Nobita was walking aimlessly on the mountain road. Unfortunately, two completely different forks appeared in front of him. Seeing this multiple choice question, Nobita was immediately in a dilemma. Well, which road should I take? It's so hard to choose. There were two mountain roads ahead. One led to the other mountain top, and the other led to a bottomless valley. He really couldn't make a decision. After a long time, Nobita finally prepared to walk towards a road. Why don't I go to the top of the mountain to take a look? After all, Chun is flying. After saying that, just as he was about to take a step, he suddenly felt something pulling his pants. Looking back, he saw a white puppy. Chapter 800 Encounter. After the man and the dog stared at each other for a while, the dog raised his front legs and pointed at the road below, as if wanting him to go down. Hey, go that way. Nobita seemed a little hesitant. Do you know that I'm going to find action? And as he wanted to explain it to him, but he suddenly found that something was wrong, as if something was approaching. The detection technique swept around again, and he immediately made up his mind. It seems that there is no time to waste, just take him away. Nobita, I have to leave for a while. You find a way to protect your safety. After saying that, he jumped out of the cloud. Hey, what happened? Before Nobita understood the situation here, and as he had completely disappeared from his sight. The dog's eyes below suddenly became sharp, and with a whoop sound, he bit the old man's ankle and took him flying down. Help. Nobita was forced to fly away, and now he could only keep calling for Buddha's blessing. Nobita had no choice but to chase after him. Really, what's wrong with that guy and AG now? He keeps doing things I don't understand. As Nobita spoke, he came to Nobita, who was like a kite in the air, and held him up with his hands to prevent him from falling. And AG returned to the position just now. The faces of the retainers now became extremely ugly, and the long swords in their hands were constantly shaking. In front of them was a monster similar to a carnivorous plant, with green mucus dripping from the corners of its mouth. Miss, please return to the city quickly. Their legs kept shaking, but they still did their duty. We will delay your escape time. But the lady behind them just looked at the carnivorous plant and tilted her head, as if she had never seen such a strange thing before. No, I don't want to go back. The child suddenly stretched out his hands and jumped up. Hurry up and catch it for me as a pet. Hearing this extremely ignorant words, the four of them suddenly felt a sense of depression. It seems that they really spoiled her too much. The guards beside him didn't care about that anymore and reached out to hug her. I will escort you back. Please follow me now. Who do you think you are? You dare to touch me? When I go back, I will tell my father about this and let him punish you, a disobedient servant. Hearing this, he suddenly had the urge to throw this lady into the mouth of the piranha plant. This child really doesn't know what's good for him. Hurry up. The guard's knife had been corroded by mucus. If you don't leave now, there will really be no time. As soon as the voice fell, the giant piranha plant opened its mouth and bit off the upper half of his body. Even if the miracle doctor was reborn, he couldn't save it. The retainer who saw this scene was also stunned and murmured with a scattered consciousness, how is it possible? How could a lord die like this? They had worked together for many years and encountered many monsters, but they all worked hard to survive from the monster's mouth. And today, his best friend suddenly left because this rich lady wanted to come here to see the maple leaves. Is there anything more ridiculous than this? Then he looked around and found that the area around him had been covered with tentacles. No matter which road he took, he could not see any hope of survival. The only road ahead was death. No chance. He put down the child in his hand and picked up the samurai sword. At least, please let me die in the way of a samurai. The steel-forged samurai sword slashed at the opponent's tentacles. The blade bent the extremely tough tentacles, but did not cut its skin. Then the mucus constantly secreted from the body surface quickly corroded the blade, completely cutting off his last hope of resistance. Seeing that the opponent had no power to resist, the monster opened its mouth, which was larger than a human's, revealing a mouthful of mucus and dense saw teeth everywhere. If I get bit by this thing later, I should be dead without feeling any pain, right? In front of death, he suddenly found that he was not as strong as he thought. Anyone would feel fear at this moment. What is this? He reached out to catch the white light falling from the sky and observed it in his hand. Is it a snowflake? It seems that God will pity us. The giant carnivorous plant with its mouth open suddenly stopped its movement. A layer of white ice crystals formed on its body surface, and the secretion of mucus had stopped. Life deprivation. With a slightly childish whisper, the body of the giant carnivorous plant seemed to be drained and quickly shrank, and finally turned into powder. Looking at the situation here, the warrior was still a little confused. Did I survive? Are you okay? Did you touch its mucus? And as he took off his stone hat and walked to his side, asking with concern. When he came over just now, he found that this warrior was making a last-ditch effort, and he still had some admiration for his spirit. Don't worry, I'm fine. He knelt down in front of him after surviving the disaster. Thank you for your kindness. I will serve you for my whole life. Seeing that the matter was resolved, and Dazzy turned around and prepared to leave. I'm not a messenger from heaven, and I don't need your service. Now it is still the right way to rush to meet Dakshing, and he has no interest in the power of faith generated by these people. At this moment, a scream suddenly came from behind them. My hand hurts so much. Dad, come and save me. The two looked back and found that the young lady just now, out of curiosity, reached out and touched the frozen mucus and was frozen by the low temperature. However, looking at the current situation, her hand will not only be frostbitten, but also corroded by the mucus, and her right hand may have been stained with mucus. Even if this hand can be saved, the skin will be scarred due to corrosion. What a troublesome child. And as he raised his hand and threw out a flame, which hit the ice accurately. Take her to the river to wash, maybe she can be saved. He obviously did not intend to take responsibility for this matter. Anyway, it was not his fault that the young lady touched the slime. Moreover, he was very dissatisfied with the behavior of this spoiled young lady just now, so he had no reason to save her. The retainer next to him quickly agreed, and then picked up the wailing young lady of the Fumaru family, and ran to the nearest river. And as he no longer paid attention to what was happening here, he was just curious about these monsters, and didn't want to care about other things. What was the monster just now? It definitely didn't appear in the original book. Could it be caused by the Zerg here? Thinking of this, he quickly shook his head and denied it. No, the little bug was also hurt. It shouldn't be them, and there is no need to play a trick on us. The Zerg didn't know the arrival of these gods, and were not exposed to the public. It was indeed unnecessary to act. If this monster evolved from an external force, then everything makes sense. And as he once again placed his suspicion on the gods, it seemed that this adventure would have many more twists and turns. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.